All right, good evening, everybody. What's going on? Another day in paradise. So just wanted to hop up here and share some content with you guys or some commentary, provide my commentary with some comments that I received. So yeah, let's get into this. So first one we got here, and also I got the link dropped. So if anybody want to jump up here and chop it up or question or critique, the link's there for you to hop up on here and we can get it popping. So let's get into this. It says, it seems to me that the root of the issue for these problematic Black people in America is self hatred, which is rooted in an inferiority complex. They view every other race as superior to them. Wow. I don't know the individual who put this comment. It says right here, Elroy Swartz. Okay, but yeah, they view every other race as superior to them. Okay, that's this individual's observation. So when someone happens to be Black, but also mixed with another race, since they view that other race as superior, wow. They become resentful of that mixed person because he or she is seen as better off than them. Okay. How do we say that's bars? I mean, this is why I want to start off with this comment. I got some other good ones as well, but this one I was like, wow, should I make a little video about it or just, hop up here on a live impromptu and kind of give you my commentary? But I agree with this individual's perspective on this. So yeah, they definitely resent that mixed person, from what I see, especially if you're prideful. If you're prideful and you are assertive in your identity, and I've realized that too, just as I've matured more in navigating certain spaces when I'm seeing some of these individuals, okay, the AA community, let's say, when they and it works in reverse as well. I've been in places where with Caucasian people who I've been very cordial with or we've always gotten along. One day I showed up at a place with a dashiki on that I got from Ghana, and I was attending it was at a community center, but I was attending a specific class. It was a djembe kind of drum class, and one of the ladies, Caucasian lady, she didn't like the fact that I was wearing the dashiki proudly. You look at me, I'm all light skinned and stuff. I was wearing it proudly with my head high, right? And so it works that way too with that side, but then also for sure we'll witness that with the Black side, okay? Where if they see if you're proud and you uphold your heritage, you're not just Black identified. A lot of them, they're bothered by it, okay? So this individual has observed that as well, and it puts note that there are many other kinds of mixed people. Okay, for example, people can be white and Chinese. We would say that's Hapa. Other people use terms like Awasian, right? Which is like white and Asian. Okay. Then you have the other, which is Black and Asian, which is Blasian. But and he puts here, or Indian and Mexican. You also have like a white and Mexican as well. I don't know if there is a term for that type of, biracial. I'd like to know. But yeah, for sure. And then he puts, and they never have an issue with those kinds of mixed people. Do you guys notice that? All you mulattoes listening to me, whenever you see these comments about light skin or I don't trust half breeds, okay, that Black is not talking about a half Japanese, half Caucasian, okay? That Black is not talking about a half white and a half Middle Eastern person. Okay. That Black, when he says he doesn't trust the half breeds, he's talking about a person that's half Black and half something else. And that's rooted in their inferiority complex and self hatred. Okay. This should be common knowledge at this point. I kind of feel like it's not for a lot of people. That's why I often have to reiterate a lot of talking points, but that's okay. That's what I'm here for, to educate and inform the public. But These are profound words right here. And I've received a comment that was similar to that specific line there on another video, but I don't know, it's somewhere in like the database somewhere. I have a lot of screenshots and stuff I collect. So yeah, it's like that's something I've observed over the past couple years is that I never see them, and a lot of these other groups like I've experienced we're actually pretty like we're pretty how do I want to say yeah, what I'm going to say is that there's other groups like say for instance I'm from California, so you have a lot of biracial people like me for instance mulatto, but like I said you have other biracial people who might not identify as biracial, but they are like say white and Mexican or Chicano and white, right? Hispanic. So there's a lot of people like that who probably don't have favorable views towards black people, but I never really see those I never see black people like target them, right, with their vitriol. And they're a pretty well represented group, the people who are Caucasian and Latino, that type of biracial person, or someone like I said who's Hapa, and especially in the Pacific Coast if they're Asian and Caucasian. So they're never talking about that specific group. This is why I use the term mulatto because it's ultra specific. There's no ambiguity. Okay. It's clearly been interpreted through history and even law legally, judicially with the census data collection, etc. So that's why mulatto is extremely fitting and perfect for me. So there's no foolishness to kind of blur the lines or muddy the waters per se. But yeah, we're the ones that who with that specific communita, why there is a lot of animosity, or the gentleman puts here resentment, resentful, or gentleman. I'm guessing it's a male, but it could be say individual. Okay, yeah, yeah. They never have an issue with these other groups. Why Hapa or anything? If they're Blasian, I don't know. I don't really see any like anti-Blasian rhetoric, because with us with the biracials, especially if we have a white mom, you're really going to see these racist blacks start attacking you on the internet, right? I've documented all this stuff and I'll probably continue because whenever I see this information I'm like, ooh, nice, I can create more content. So yeah, specifically those of us who are mixed with black and white. And I'm not trying to play the whole oppression Olympics, okay, or struggle Olympics. I'm just pointing out the obvious, reiterating. So let's continue on. Put here, however, as soon as someone is black and mixed with something else, they are viewed as better off in terms of their position in society. This is one of the main reasons why they don't want you to use the term mulatto. Whenever you start saying mulatto, you're going to have some black run up in there. That's an offensive word. You had some dusty interloper who's like, I'm not mulatto myself, but it sounds offensive. Nobody asked your opinion, dude. You're not one of us, okay? You're whatever, you're quote unquote mixed, which doesn't mean shit because you know, they've already hijacked that word, okay, to literally mean anything. Mixed is it's the most broadest term on the books. Literally, just like you have like people of color. It doesn't mean anything. It just means non-white. I was even talking to my mother about this, like the term minority. When I look at some data collection they have for stats for like companies, businesses, and other stuff, other, institutions, and I'll look it up and it'll say something like, this organization's like 70 plus percent minority. And I'm like, well, they're including black, Hispanic, Asian, Arab, like they're including all these other groups that are non-ethnically Caucasian. It's too broad. We all know that there's so many specificities and differences with all these groups, but they just throw them all in the same umbrella and say people of color. That's the way I look at this term mixed. When you say you're mixed, okay, but when you say mulatto, you know what I'm talking about. And that's why with the individual here, when he put this comment here, however, as soon as someone is black and mixed, let's just say black and white, okay, mulatto, with something else or mixed with something else, right? They are viewed as better off in terms of their position in society. That's critically important because you have a lot of people. What I found out in the past, year or so, in some of these quote unquote mixed race spaces, which we all know by now, if you are a follower of mine, the mixed is like a code word just for black, right? Because one of their tactics they're going to use to basically invalidate you in your experience is say, oh, well, we're all mixed, 200 years ago on a plantation, Massa did this to my great, 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 great grandmommy, so we all's biracial. I got -3% European and Indian in me. So I'm just as mixed as you, even though I look like Wesley Snipes. We all the same, That's one of their tactics they use to invalidate you, is say there's no such thing as mixed. We're all mixed. Just shut up and kiss my black butt. Get back in place. Or you could be the minority in, their group because their group has more numbers than you, okay? And then, of course, they're going to be the minority under their massa in this land here, where their masses have larger numbers than them, and they're comfortable in that position. I've come to realize that. So, but just for you, are you comfortable? You mulattoes, are you comfortable in that subordinate position? I'm not. The people who listen to me, or I should say, not the people who listen to me, because I have a lot of people who don't support me, but they listen to me, the ones who are supporters, who sympathize with the message, are you comfortable being in a subordinate position? The answer is no. Okay, if you support me, you know that is not your destiny and lot in life to be a subordinate. You are striving for full personal autonomy and sovereignty. Okay, just like everybody else has a right to self preservation. Everybody else has a destiny, a purpose. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is basically, toot the horn, blow the whistle to let inform people know that you actually have a tribe. You actually have a tribe over here. So yeah, going back, I kind of said a lot with the whole position in society. So what you'll find out is you have a lot of mixed people who phenotypically look like you. They're basically the same configuration, European, African, but they don't identify with that label mulatto because it's distinctively different from black. Because you have people who are mixed, but they're black identified. So they want you to use a more innocuous term that will it will allow a situation for blacks to always be included into the discussion, where they'll basically just still be underneath blackness. So they'll use all these other terms. I don't have to even go over it. You guys should already know this by now. That's one of their main arguments against mulatto, because it's usually black people for sure don't like the word mulatto, or black identified mulattoes don't like the term mulatto. Okay, let's continue on. They are also seen as higher up in a racial hierarchy. Okay, that's part and parcel. Position in society, hierarchy. We can say totem pole. Exactly. There's even a content creator. Um, this was like over a year ago too. Like, she didn't like me. It's a she. It's a she. Okay, old lady. She's like a grandma. You can tell by listening to her. And her name is The Future is Golden. And she publicly said on one of her live streams that oh, well, we can't use the word mulatto because historically mulattoes were placed above black people. We have to think, and I'm like, well, wait a second, whose side are you on here? That's a conflict of interest here. When we have people out here who are public people, where our faces are all on camera, okay, we show our face every day, we're very public, and you have some anonymous person hiding behind the screen who's like trying, like the wizard behind the you know, the Wizard of Oz, right? Trying to dictate policy and trying to correct people what words they're going to use. No, 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 no. You don't have a say in the matter. Okay. As far as I'm concerned. No, no, no. Yeah. And somebody like that, they don't like the word mulatto because they see the conflict of interest. They are an extension of the African American community, or that, FBA, ADOS, whatever. So, and it has to do with this hierarchy, this racial hierarchy position. They are indebted, they want to serve as the subordinate mules serving blackness. So whenever they see other people who want to advance their position, who want to get out of this position of servitude, they are going to try to dissuade and discourage them. And one of the main tools and tactics they can use or they do often use, is to control your language, control your speech, focus on censorship. They don't want you to get the message out there. And see, and even the labels you use when you proclaim that I'm mulatto, I'm this, I'm independently different from these individuals over there, they have an issue with that because they know if they use these other terms like golden or all these other little terms they develop, that it allows the the infiltrators to basically hoodwink you and anchor themselves into your discussion. It allows them to say, well, I got, you know 20% or 18% non-African DNA, so I belong here too, I'm mixed. So it allows them some kind of like legitimacy to even be involved in the conversation, where it's like, nobody asked for your opinion. You clearly have your sentiments are elsewhere. Okay. You're not really, this is not for you. Not what I'm doing. The other channels for sure, the other channels where whatever else they're doing, they can go entertain you, but over here, no. So don't get mad if I let you know what's popping. So continuing on, they're also seen as higher up in the racial hierarchy, right? Obama, Kamala Harris, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, and therefore more powerful than them. This is why they often work on humbling tactics, especially if you're a man, you're a male. I didn't grow up in the African American community. Okay. So I was watching a video earlier about this light skinned guy, or he's mixed. Let me correct myself. He's mixed. But a lot of mixed people, if they grow up around these blacks, they view themselves as just being light skinned. It's like, you're not just light skinned. You got a whole parent that's non-black, then that's part of who you are, you know. But yeah, they're hoodwinked by the community to think that you're black like me, you just light skinned. You just like, no, no, no. You're a whole different entity, okay? Independent. A lot of you haven't figured it out yet, and that's why a lot of you continuously see some of these issues that are, reoccurring. But as the comment puts here, is that yeah, they often view as more powerful. I apologize. I think I lost my train of thought. What the hell I was saying. They're also seen as higher up in the racial hierarchy and therefore more powerful than them. Why else would they be so desperate to claim mixed people as only black? Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Why else would they be so desperate to claim mixed people as only black? You guys tell me. You guys answer that for me. You guys let me know because I have no idea. I mean, the guy's labeling out basically right here because they feel like a lot of them feel like you're better than them. And they're afraid if you leave them and develop your own situation, number one, you're going to outperform them. Number two, you're going to cut off access from them. And yeah, they've been coddled so much to where a lot of people feel sorry for them, okay, to a degree, but a lot of these other people, they don't have to live next to them. Now, I don't. Like I was saying, let me go back to, because I lost my train of thought earlier, but I saw a video from this guy who's mixed. But the thing is, like, when they grow up around these mixed guys, when they grow up around black people, they're hoodwinked by black people to they trick them, making them think that they're a part of their group. And that's why, especially with the men, okay, the mixed men, that's why they'll identify themselves as, oh, I'm just light skinned. I'm just a light skinned guy. I got a white mama or a white daddy or a Puerto Rican mommy, whatever, but I'm just light skinned. Right. And they'll try to talk all biggity black and act black and all that stuff. They're hoodwinked by the community. And and the community engages in a lot of humbling tactics to these men, is what I've noticed. These bullying, humbling tactics. Like I said, I'm just analyzing other people's stories, but I didn't grow up around those people like that. So I grew up in a civilized society. I was never, of course, every individual deals with bullying. And for me, it took different forms with different people, but I was never like raised in the hood. I don't know, because there's people out here like who are like wannabe rappers or something. They're trying to act like it's like a flex or something. It's like a badge of honor to be raised in like a shitty environment or a hostile environment. Like it builds you up or something to be what? Like a ghetto superstar or something? I don't know. Like I'm not impressed by it, honestly. But I see so many stories, and especially like I said, I know with the women, it happens like that too. We've heard these stories of mixed women getting bullied, or they're gonna cut their hair. I know that's a big one that we hear from mixed women, right? Because the a lot of the black women are jealous of the mixed women, their hair texture, so they'll try to cut their hair. Same thing with they'll happen with the men. They'll try the dark skinned Bantus will try to terrorize the men or the males if they're in high school, whatever, younger, and then they'll try to like cut them, put a scar on them, right? Because they're like, oh, you're mixed, you know. So these stories happen. I didn't experience those stories. I mean, I didn't live through those stories because I wasn't raised around those people. Okay. But this is what I'm observing when I look at everyone else and their situation in history. So, yeah. Why else would they be so desperate to claim mixed people as only black? Because they need their punching bag. They need their subordinates, right? That's it. They want the right of refusal to be able to in group you and out group you. Okay. To pull you in and to push you out whenever it's convenient. We can simply say it is to weaponize the one drop rule against you. Okay. To keep you as a subordinate. It'll work with a lot. I think the more the years that goes on, more it's information. That's why they want to suppress and silence, right? This channel here is shadow banned, but that's why I got my other channels, right? Could always easily just jump over there. So yeah, claiming them as only black both strips them of all of those advantages. Humbling tactic, right? Oh, you just light skin. I remember I've had a couple people I think it was actually mainly the couple women who are these pro wax, these interlopers who are like in the mixed spaces, but they're, black queens, whatever. It's funny about the mixed spaces. You come to find out most of these people are like from the divester spaces or from the manosphere, just black spaces. Because the blacks kicked your ass out. The blacks are racist, said, oh, you ain't black like me, you light skin. Like, okay, fuck you. Let me go do my own shit, do this mixed thing. And then you do the mixed thing, and then the same blacks who are, hating on your ass for being mixed, they're crawling over here to try to drag you back into their community, right? So yeah, there was a couple women who basically tried to, you know, say that, oh, I just look like a light-skinned black guy. It's like, yeah, okay. See, that's one of their tactics, their humbling tactics, right? They're basically to kind of strip you of an advantage. And I'm not even claiming I have an advantage. I think the fact that I wasn't raised around them was really healthy for my self-esteem because I was never like socialized to be beat down for them to feel like they're better than me. I was like, look, I'm in an environment where I was raised where people were actually like performers and producers. People went to private schools. Everyone in my family went to a university. Okay. And so it's like I was from an environment where your merit mattered. Your work you put out mattered. There wasn't any special little victim status because you're dark skinned and you're struggling and we're all supposed to feel sorry for your ass. I wasn't raised in that environment. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out that whole stripping them of those advantages, remind them that they're just black. You just look like a light-skinned black guy. You got black features. You just look like one of the blacks. If that was the case, you know, we wouldn't be in the position we're in now, where a lot of us are looking around like questioning things like, oh, wait a second. All those people have done is let you know that you're not like them. You're not dark skinned. You ain't struggling. You have a different experience. I don't trust you. You got a white mom, right? They've done everything they can to let you know you're not like them. And I've acknowledged that and accepted that. I was like, look, I tried to work with you people, but I realized you guys got issues. It's like, okay, let me go do this mulatto shit over here. I'm mulatto. I'm not the same as you. But I just think it's just hilarious. Like we can all see these tactics now, right? Now they're gonna come over here like, oh man, you just look like a light-skinned black. I know people that are full black that look just like you. Man, you ain't even that special, right? Humbling tactic, okay? Whether those advantages are actually real or perceived. But if such a mixed person already happens to be famous or successful, claiming them as only black at least helps them to feel better about themselves. This is a very bold statement, very accurate observation, I gotta say, That's why it took me like what 20 plus minutes just to get through this, you know, with a lot of pauses and stops. But I wanted to read it all and digest it and kind of stumble over some of my words to give you my true, authentic perspective on how I feel about this matter here. I believe the individual, it's a guy, it's probably a black guy. That's his honest observation. Says Elroy Swartz. I don't know. I just saw this comment. I was like, wow, this is gold. I might have pinned it on one of my videos. I don't recall which video it's on. I apologize. I could go back and double check and post that there. But yeah, the whole thing I hear about the celebrities, right? But if such a mixed person already happens to be famous or successful, claiming them as only black at least helps them to feel better about themselves, right? Feel better. Another term he put here is racial hierarchy, position in society. And then I think he put inferiority complex up here, inferiority complex. So the self-esteem, the self-worth is a major deal when you deal with them. Even their own people like Tariq Nasheed will point out the whole attention depraved, right? Amongst themselves in their community. That's why they have such a need for getting attention, being accepted and acknowledged by massa, right? So, and a lot of their pathology kind of trickles off and kind of brushes off and it metastasizes. It shows itself in front of us. If you deal with them, if you're living in their environments or around them, adjacent, etc., you'll see some of that, the behaviors that they exhibit with that need for attention and validation. But yeah, if they see you, you're mixed and you have your head high, you're proud, not only of African and European, they're going to be bothered by you, especially if they don't like themselves, which a lot of them don't. We know this. Okay. And so they see you, they're proud. They're like, they're going to hate on you, you know? So yeah, I wanted to share that one. That was a pretty good comment. Got a couple more. Shout out to the chat. Respect to you guys in the chat. Let me get into this one here. Now, this is clearly an African name here, right? If I could pronounce this. Awale Chukwuemeke. I apologize. Pronunciation is not correct, but received this comment one of my videos. He says, hi, sub to your channel. This is the Mulatto history channel, okay, that he's sub to. Because it's much needed. Not a biracial person. He's saying he's not. He's a full-blooded African. You could kind of tell by the name, right? Probably Nigerian, guessing. West African, but I'm considered light skinned. So some of the stereotypes biracials get, I've experienced, though not to the level actual biracials experience. I've always said biracials are their own people. And I think a lot of black men don't want that to be the case because they want access to biracial women. They want access to the biracial woman. Pure facts. And this is something I've observed with my this kind of social media experimentation, analyzing the scenery, creating my own, pages, providing commentary, and even out in the public, just in, navigating society, looking around, looking at the public discourse and social media celebrities, all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. He says specifically, I think a lot of black men don't want that the case. They don't want biracial people to be their own group. Because the biracial men create a situation where we can create businesses, institutions, associations will develop a kind of ecosystem, a defense mechanism. We can develop codes to protect ourselves, establish trade. Naturally, women are going to gravitate towards that and see that there's resources there, there's protection there, there's the warmth of the community there. Naturally, it's going to attract mulatta women. Okay. So you're right. That's what the black men, the Bantus, okay, they fear that more than anything. They're going to lose access to the women, right? That's why they're always up in your little space and trying to say, oh, don't talk to that biracial guy. That biracial guy, he's racist. He's a colorist. He's bad, right? They're always interjecting themselves in the biracial discussion. You notice that? I always see that more with the black men, the Bantus, who pretend and lie to be mixed, by the way. That's one of their main tactics to get in, to interlope in your space. They got to give themselves some kind of plausible justification to say they're just like you. Well, I don't look mixed. Well, yeah, because you're not, But you notice it's usually the men who do that, right? We could take the whole golden sphere, the ghetto sewer, kind of as a case study, where it was when I first heard about the space. That's why I questioned it. It was saturated with these black guys pretending to be mixed. I mean, it was a long list of these guys. This is like over a year ago. I saw the space. I was like, what the hell? And then they were always up in the with the biracial women. I was thinking to myself, wait, I've seen this black guy in a black manosphere channel. These are all black manosphere guys. What the hell are they doing? But they're a the biracial guys know what's up, but it's up to you guys to create your own shit, your own platforms. Stop being underneath other people and get your own shit popping and let your voice be heard. But we see the tactics, right? Because, like I'm saying, I don't see too many black women involved in that kind of coercive kind of activity where they're trying to basically, sabotage people getting together and networking. It's primarily the dark skinned Bantu men who do that, who are trying to stop the biracial men working with biracial women, right? And yeah, because they want access to the box. They want to create more bastard children, right? They're with their preference to biracial women and to not have to deal with their own women, right? Because the saddest thing is they prefer other men's daughters over their own women, right? That level of self-hatred. I'm not saying all of them are like that, because this guy even says here he personally loves black women, but I'm saying that it's common knowledge that we see here. I'm talking about in the United States of America. Okay. It's common knowledge we see their dating and mating habits. A large percentage of them, I'm not going to give out a number, but we can say a large percentage, they prefer women who are lighter skinned than them and have less negroid features in them. Okay. And that's not normal. There's something pathologically sick about that, because no other group, and I'm not saying you could like who you like, that's all on you. But for the sample size, when you analyze, you look at their behavior, like something's wrong with these people. Okay. Other groups of people don't operate like that on that massive scale. We see most Latino men, they prefer Latina women. Most Asian men prefer Asian women. Most Arabic men prefer Arabic women. Most white men prefer white women. There's a lot of white men who are getting Asian women. That's a fact. We know that. There's a lot of other kind of factors there with that because of the femininity, the compatibility, and the culture wise, etc. But it's like when we analyze this specific demographic in the United States, we see that it's like they're a lot of them prefer, if they can have access, that there's a wealth and class component, not even class in a lot of cases, but if they have some money, if they can simp and pay for the woman, then the woman will entertain them, get their little bastard kids popped out the oven, and then send them off on their way. Then the government gets involved with the child support and all the other fun stuff, right? But yeah, because for me, you look at me, I've been preferring these women since have developed this consciousness of talk about mulatto women. Even before like this this channel and all this stuff, like back in like, let's say 2016, 2015. So literally, yeah, a little less than 10 years ago. Before that, I was like messing with a lot of Latinas because that's the environment I'm from. That's basically the kind of pool of women to choose from in a lot of regards. There wasn't that many mulatto women in Orange County. They're there. I've messed with some of them there, but I would have to go to LA or San Diego, which is what eventually happened as I started going to school. Let me continue on. It says, like he said, he puts here, he personally loves black women, dated mostly black women all my life, though open to dating others. Noticed when I schooled in the West, black men intentionally categorized biracial women as black to date them instead of acknowledging what they are. If I want a black woman, I know what a black woman, light or dark, looks like, and I won't pass off a biracial or a mixed woman as such if I'm dating a mixed woman. Won't call her black, pretend says pretense. I think it meant to put her black, pretend has to stop. Finally, the lie that mixed women prefer black men is untrue. Yeah, people are as loyal as their options. And the thing is with like the Bantus, dark skin, look, they have more numbers than us. Okay. And their sense of community that they have. I mean, I guess they have that. Their social medias pop in or whatnot. That's fine. One of the issues is because a lot of these biracials are punks, and they're basically cucked to serving these other groups of men. They help them in their system, so to speak. It's not even really a system, but they help their situation, I should say. They help them, they give them clout, they promote them, they listen to their music and all this other stuff, right? I mean, I just had a Tribe Called Quest song in the intro. Okay. Rest in peace to that cat, Fife Dog, right? And yeah. So the thing is, a lot of these biracial guys could easily get their own situation off and popping and present themselves as being a viable option, but they're too busy being subordinate to other groups of men. And so, how does that make you look? When you create your own shit, you have your own situation, and you're firm and assertive about that. Naturally, people are going to be attracted to that. They're going to gravitate towards that. I don't even have to do much. This is just all this information's in the public domain. I'm just sharing my opinion and thoughts, and I'm able to attract people to this type of material. And I just want my whole goal when I started this was to get other biracial men to let their voices be heard, stop being subordinates. You're going to have to work together if you really want to achieve something, because as this individual thing, it's going to be more challenging than not. And so, yeah, yeah, people are as loyal as their options. And another thing I'll add on this is that I feel like, which is true, I think a lot of biracial guys know this, is that like we're not really, how do I want to say this? I feel like a lot of the Bantus, they because they fetishize the women, they'll do more for them in a lot of ways than we will. Where we know kind of our worth, our options, and not only that, is just that we're not going to let them get away with shit that I feel like the Pookies do. Because look what they do. Look at how they let black women get away with a lot of crap, right? Where it's like complete gender roles reversed, where it's a matriarchy in their community. So they let those women, black women, get away with so much crap just based off that general observation, their behavior. Wouldn't it be wise to suspect that they're gonna let biracial women get away with a lot of crap? Yeah, they do. Yeah, they let them get away with a lot of crap, and they'll just be underneath the women, kissing their butt, letting them talk shit, And we all have witnessed this, so it's a continuation of that, and that's why I feel like it's a lot of people would feel like it's a viable option as well, because they could, a lot of women can feel like they can kind of get away with a lot more, they can contribute less, and they can be provided for. I mean, basically, if it works out, it works out. That's fine. It's not my business. What people are doing, who they're dating, that's all on them. That's their business. I'm just providing my observation on the whole ordeal. So yeah, another good comment, another solid comment from a black dude, from an African, and like you said, he subbed to the channel, full blooded. And yeah, yeah. So I have people who are subscribed to my channel who listen and etc. Um, who are black people. If some people don't like the harshness, it's like, well, look, as this grows, I already have material. I'm going to talk about more of the white nationalism and all this stuff. But I see a concerted effort. The white nationalists are more discreet in their observations. On Twitter, they'll put a lot of stuff out there, but they're mainly trying to attack the white women. They're trying to corral and get the white women on board with them, because a lot of white women are creating mutiny by sleeping with black men, creating mixed offspring. And that's one of the white. That's why they've within their society they've outlawed miscegenation. Right. That's one of the main things with them, is what I see with their arguments is how white women are basically kind of slapping them in the face. So I'll see some of those comments on Twitter and stuff like that. But me as a man, as a military aged competitive man out here, I'm saying, well, who are the men out here on social media who are trying to like tarnish my reputation or tarnish my sexual marketplace value, or like all these little light skin jokes and shit? See, to me, I don't look at myself as a light skin. I'm only light skin around these dark skins. Okay. In every other society, I'm not like a quote light skin guy. Like I was telling you earlier in the stream, we have these mixed guys, biracial guys who grew up around these blacks and they've conditioned them to look at themselves as just being a light skinned black. You got a white mom. How are you just a light skinned black? No, you're partially European. You got to own that shit. That's your birthright. Who's going to tell you you can't do that? Like, I was never raised in an environment where like the Caucasian people never stripped me away from that. They never told me I couldn't claim. They've actually liked me. See, I'm a millennial. I wasn't raised in the 60s and 70s. Don't let these old timers try to fool you, trying to bring you back to the civil rights era. I was raised in an environment in the 1990s. I've never had a white person try to like deny me of my heritage. They've always been able, like, that was like a link, a bridge to like connect. It was like, oh, you're kind of similar like me. We have something in common. You understand the language, the lingo, and some of the nuances. Like, I'm not fully white, I'm not fully black. I'm this unique fusion that I've identify as the mulatto. I'm trying to tell people to embrace that. And there's no other way. I mean, you want to survive or do you want to just give up and be absorbed? And that's the easier route. I see a lot of you people, that's what you choose to do. That's fine. But there are those of us who actually like who we are and we want to extend this and continue this. And yeah, this is what it is. So let's see what we got here. Shout out to you guys in the comments. I'm going to read some of your comments, get back into a couple comments that I got prepared for you guys. Shout out to Val. And Val puts right here, I find it really disgusting, those mixed people bashing their white mothers. That's how they gain entry into the AA community. Yeah, you got mixed people who bash their white moms. Does it work the other way around? I think Michi X, you know her. I think she has a white dad, black mom. I don't know. Has she bashed her white dad? I don't know if I've ever heard that before. Maybe possibly. But regardless, if you have a parent that's white, usually what these mulattoes do, who are black identified, they want to simp for blacks, and so they'll throw their white parent under the bus. I talked about this as well. I did a stream a year ago on this super rich, wealthy biracial who's going to, she's a university student. She had a TikTok. I think she got deleted or whatever. Her TikTok channel got deleted. But she's like LGBT mulatto, and she kind of had a viral clip because she was talking crap about her deceased white father at the like funeral service. And the guy was like a multimillionaire, if I'm not mistaken. And I saw the house, the residence that he owned, that she slept in, she lived in, and it's like it looked like a castle. It's like a mansion. He literally, like, she was raised in this, that her father, her white father, provided her with, like, so what a spoiled brat. I think the stream I labeled it like biracial spoiled brat throws her white father under the bus. It might still be public on my channel, on this channel here. I don't know if I privated it. It could possibly still be public, but I remember seeing that, was like, oh man. I mean, can you imagine that? Like, everything you do for them, and then they're gonna throw you under the bus. Even Colin Kaepernick did that. It wasn't even his like maternal parents. It was adopted his adopted white family. He tried to throw them under the bus and say, you guys remember that shit? This is what these people do to gain entry, to virtue signal to the community, to get their acceptance. This is literally what they do. I'm not saying all, I'm not generalizing, but a large portion. We got to call a spade a spade. And what I want to add on that, yeah, okay. And then there's also a gender component. So yeah, we know that the biracial, the dudes will go extra hard and be all militant, right? To try to be all down with the blacks, to be basically crash test dummies, fighting all their battles for them while the Bantus sit on their ass, playing video games, eating chicken wings, and chasing light skinned women. Okay. They got a lot of these biracials punked out here acting like marks, doing their dirty work. Notice that. Take note of that. Whenever someone wants to talk about anti-black or something like that, it's always going to be, it's usually going to be some biracial punk who's working for Bantus, okay, The biracial's got to be the the biggest virtue signaler. That's their pathway to blackness to get acceptance. Okay, they got to go extra hard. While the dark skinned Bantu sits on his ass, eating chicken wings, chasing light skinned women, and playing video games. Okay, he's gonna have his little biracial crash test dummy be like, attack that other biracial. He's racist. He's spewing white supremacy. Right? Go attack him. While I sit on my ass over here as a dark skinned guy trying to get light skinned women. This is what it is out here, guys. I'm just, providing commentary. So that's the guys. That's what the guys do. The biracial guys. They got to cape hard for the community to get their acceptance. But what do the women do? What do the biracial women do? They have to sleep with and be with the dark skinned Bantu. That is literally their pathway to blackness, and how they anchor themselves into the black community is they have the Bantus, okay? They have their bastard kids for them. That establishes their claim, their legitimacy to be amongst the black group, to say, well, I'm an extension, I'm a part of this group. Oh yeah, I got a white mom, I got a white grandma, white family. I'm biracial, but I'm a part of the black community. I'm a subgroup to the black community, and I got a black man's bastard kid, so I have a right to be here. That's literally how a lot of them, how they stake their claim to be a part of that group. Other people have, like I said, various ways of how they maneuver themselves. And we know with the women, some of them, when they go that route, that's what they do. They have Pookie's illegitimate bastard kids to anchor themselves into blackness. And a lot of women who don't have Pookie's bastard kids, they'll position themselves to being social justice warriors. They'll do social justice work and virtue signaling. Okay, in the college campuses, LGBT, super liberal, whatever, they're going to go extra hard and protest and pro-black and all this stuff, right? It's work. They don't understand it, that they're mules, they're work mules. They're working for something, and it's for that membership access to be accepted into that group. And as you put here, that's how they gain entry into the AA community. There's various ways. They have to work, they have to serve Bantus. And like I said, a lot of the women, they'll do the social justice work. Okay, social justice warriors, okay, virtue signalers, or they'll give these dark-skinned Bantus sexual access so they can have more bastard kids, okay, and continue the cycle. And then the men get cucked, get punked into being what, like serfs, or we can call them eunuchs. I believe that's the term, eunuchs, which is what the Arabs used to do because they started the slave trade, right? It wasn't the transatlantic slave trade, but it was like in the African slave trade, okay, throughout the Middle East, North Africa. So the Arabs used to, I think the term is eunuch, if I'm not mistaken, they used to literally castrate their slaves, their black slaves, okay, Bantus. And they would make them as basically like guards. They would make them as guards to guard royalty. And part of the reason why they castrated them was so that those black males wouldn't procreate or sleep with the women that they were potentially guarding, or just within the neighboring village, etc., the area. So it's interesting, that dynamic, because I see that that's how a lot of it's kind of reverse now. We have with a lot of these Bantus, what they're doing, like with how they're not really doing it. It's that these biracials, these mulattoes, they're willingly participants in their own, you know, castration, essentially being cucked. You got some of these guys, they want to jump on a fucking passport to go get chicks. Or excuse me, let me rephrase that. I'm tripping. They want to jump on an airplane and become a passport bro to get chicks. But these are the same guys who are black ass kissers, kissing Bantu butt, serving them, okay? Trying to fight other biracial guys. They're serving the Bantus. But then it's like, well, where's your chick at, bro? Like you're that down bad. You got to jump on an airplane to go to another country to get some tail. You can't make this shit up, man. They got these guys out here cucked where they want to leave the fucking country to go get mixed chicks because their market value is so tarnished here. Yeah, because you're serving Bantus. You're serving other group of men, fighting for them. Where's get your own shit popping? Fuck out of here. I see some of these cats, man. I don't like it either. I don't like seeing it. I don't want to be the one that has to say it, but I'm seeing it. It's like your problems could be solved if you just stop serving these people, develop your own agenda. But you want to fight other mulattoes to prove that you're down for the communita. And it's pretty despicable. So Val says, what's the benefit of being in that community? Nothing. I mean, I don't know. Like, is there warmth? Is there business opportunities? I don't get it. Like, I don't know. For the most part, it doesn't even seem benefiting anyone full black. You make a valid point. Yeah, I just what all I can say is I don't see the benefit. I really don't. I mean, I'm sorry. I just don't. No mulatto with the white mom will convince me being called a name was worse than me growing up around AA people. Yeah, being called a name or being called a slur. If someone calls you a name calling, why don't you call them a name back? It feels good. Okay. Then they know this is the situation we're on. If it's just name calling, it's like, okay, that's what I do. Working out good for me. Yeah, am I going to piss people off? Sure. But the funny thing is, nobody cares about pissing you off, you know? But then they got these mulattoes like punks out here worried about pissing other people off. Oh, because we're such a minority. Or there's a lot of other groups in this nation that have lower numbers than you. Where they benefit from is because they actually have a cultural identity. Okay. And a lot of them have a code. And so they back it up. They're not fragmented. That's why mulattoes eventually gonna wake up and smell the coffee. They're gonna basically get kind of you know, put in that position to realize I've already seen this coming. I've already seen this coming several years. Like I first kind of saw it in like 2015, 2016 with the whole Kaepernick and Trump was in office. I realized I started seeing these blacks with their conspiracy theory videos pushing the whole Chancellor Williams that the mulatto is going to always side with the whites. And I was like, okay, these blacks are getting ready to push these mulattoes into a position where the mulattoes are going to have to defend themselves. So here we are. This is just a small thing now, but when I go over and look on TikTok and some of the other platforms, I'm like, yeah, these people are listening. They're listening. You bet your bottom dollar. People are starting to wake up. So he puts here, uh, Kamir, did you know Demi Lovato loves mulatto? No, I did not know that. I've been seeing a lot of videos popping up on my FYP of the black Hebrews demanding white people to bow down and kiss their feet. Because when Yeshua comes back, he gonna save. Yeah, I don't do the whole Hebrew Israelite. I really don't. I don't follow any of that stuff. I don't care. It's yeah. I don't really have much to say about those people. I don't even engage with them if they're not paying me money or singing songs or dancing for me. That particular crowd, I don't care. I started following you on IG under Val. You can message me anytime you want. Tribes of Israel will be the only people in heaven. So-called black people. Yeah, it's just black supremacy stuff. When you listen to those people and they use the Bible to justify their philosophies, it's no different than the Christian identity movement in America. You have a lot of like radical Christian movements where they tie in like with the Protestantism and the Anglo-Saxons and they push very similar beliefs to that, like supremacist beliefs, and they use the Bible to justify a lot of it. So it's just blacks in reverse. Okay, that's why it's called black supremacy, because it's literally they want to be just like their white supremacist masses. Okay, they want to feel like they have some power. Nobody else will give them that. Nobody else will give them that basically enjoyment of feeling like they have the power, except for these biracials. As we demonstrate, those are the only ones who basically kowtow to the communitas, you know, obligations. It's basically these biracials I'm seeing. Okay. MVG, I messaged you too. Not sure if you received it. I wanted to send you some videos. IG won't let me until you approve the message. Okay, I'll check it out. Black people treat us the same way as whites treated them in 1950s. Boom. That is very profound there. And it's what it is, a situation of power. They want to feel like they have that power, right? They feel like they're missing that in society. They're seeing all these other groups flourish without them. Latinos don't need them. Okay. Asians don't need them. In a sense, Asians rely on them for their economic, for their business structure. The Asians can easily set up shop somewhere else. They can literally just do what they've always been doing, doing business with each other. But they get rich in this country because blacks, they have no literally economic infrastructure, so they're giving Asians all their money. And that's when I really the light went off in my head. The I flipped the switch, I can say, back when I started seeing, like, when I was in San Diego, you had all these black people giving all these Asians their money. And I was thinking, for these basic services, like these takeout restaurants, like, and it wasn't like Asian, specialty Asian food. It was like fried chicken food and crap like that. And like for these nail salons, I'm like, you can't do your own nails. You can't make your own food, like fried food like that you shouldn't even be eating, by the way. And they were giving these Asian people money. And this was like in 2021, I think, the beginning of the year, or end of 2020, when like a lot of the whole kind of Asian hate crime hysteria was going on. And I was in San Diego and I saw this stuff and I was like, oh my God, I lost complete faith in the community. I was like, they're done. They're toast. They are literally financing, giving these people all their money. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it, that this is how they operate. You know, I couldn't believe it. Like, they couldn't read the room. Nobody else does that crap. Nobody else is going to voluntarily line up in a long line out the damn store, the damn business. They're going to fill up the whole establishment that's not black. They're going to lie, and they're going to enrich and empower these foreigners. And I'm just like, you don't see that with any other group. Like, even when I was in San Diego, I'd go to like like an Ethiopian or an Arabic store business, and the only like black people there, that like they were from like North Africa or one of these countries out there, right? Ethiopia, Somalia. So it's like they could connect with these people off the language and stuff. And then, like, yeah, I just, it just amazed me. I was like, How are you financing and supporting the?" But they can't treat those type of people any type of way, going back to Val's point, because those people don't care. They have their own businesses, their own infrastructure. They don't care. They're not going to put up with their ass. They're like, you hurry up and buy. You hurry up and buy. You get out the store. They'll tell them, get the hell out of here. You don't spend money with me. So the only way they're going to feel power is they need you. They need you more than you need them. They need that biracial that they can hoodwink and punk and mock. They need to feel some type of power over you. Now, I might be making some generalizations. I'm not saying all, but I'm saying when I analyze this behavior, when I see this social media commentary, okay, it's kind of what a lot of this channel is based off of. When I see this type of stuff, I'm like, this is basically what it is. They want to feel like that power. I'm just one of the type of guys just like, look, I'm not, no, you people got to pay. You say over betas try to put down other men. Yeah, yeah, only betas do. Yeah. Yeah, and there's another term I like to use. It's called simp enforcers. Now, I didn't come up with that term. There's a guy, shout out to him. He developed that term, Mr. Palmer. He uses that term. He calls them simp enforcers, and I think that's the most fitting term to use, or yeah, to reference those type of individuals, where they're literally like in a soldier, you know, this enforcer, this simp enforcer, and yeah, they do that. These betas, to get access, like, to women, like, and then they're left like with nothing either. They fight all the women's battles and they get nothing. They just end up looking stupid in the end, and then they want to act like it's the woman's fault. It's like, you didn't notice this from day one. You were acting as a simp, fighting this woman's battles. This woman was manipulating you with fake compliments. Like, you didn't understand this from the beginning, that this woman was playing your ass to fight her battles for you. These guys don't get it. I've been, I've been seeing this shit for over a year, just in social media, looking at some of these guys, how they move, and it's like, bro, we've been seeing this for a minute. Like, you you can't make this shit up. Yeah, the simp enforcers never cease to amaze me, and there's like an overabundance of them too, which is kind of the irritating part. Yeah. Yeah, so Jonas says Michi, I think I've heard that before about Michi X. Her dad would call her the N word or something. That's funny. I'm laughing because it is funny. Because look at Michi X, how she turned out. She's like all ghetto and ratchet and super pro black. And she literally does not look black at all. That's why you have these people who don't even look really black like that. They have to like go extra hard and act extra hard to get their little hood street cred. And you listen to how they talk, right? Their kind of tonality, the accent that they're using, they're utilizing, even the type of words that they use, their vernacular. They have to kind of blacken it up because some of these mulattoes look like Mexicans, and. So they want to pretend like they're all black. So that's one method they use, their main method. Look, I sound just like a black because I'm from the hood. And Michi X is kind of, when I look at her and I listen to how she sounds, I'm like, yeah, yeah. Okay, let's see. Yeah, Val was saying you'd never put down your dad just to be accepted by blacks. Yeah. Yeah, that's having integrity for sure. And you pointed out, Val, that these, the thing is, I don't know. I've been in black men's spaces where a lot of them are honest about their mom being pieces of crap. So I have seen I've seen transparency with black men. And I think you're seeing that more so now that you have like internet spaces that are black men kind of led and organized. We do have a lot of them who are honestly saying that. Yeah. So they're not all defending their black mama. I know we kind of said that, you and me, Val, during my last stream. We were reading some comments. I referenced how George Floyd was screaming for his mom and how that's like very deeply embedded within a community. There's this kind of simp mother goddess chip implanted in their brain, where it's like their operational software is to just worship black mama, and she's the queen, and all this stuff. Like you could be a crack fiend mama, but you still a black queen. Tupac, that verse that Tupac had in his Dear Mama song. Even though you're a crack fiend mama, even though you're a fucking crackhead mama, you're still a black queen mama. I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But no, I see a lot of pushback with some of these younger guys. They're being more transparent, realizing, hey, your mom wasn't the best. You know, I don't know. I'm happy with my mom. I'm gonna be honest with you. Hasn't always been perfect. There's been like some bumps in the roads. That's part of life. It's part of family. But today I can say I got a good mom. I got a good one. I'm very thankful and happy. So yeah, there's no way on God's green earth that I would throw her under the bus to make these blacks feel like, to feel what, less threatened or something like that. Like, no, I just won't even deal with you people like that. I'll go, and me and my white mama will go somewhere else where some civilized people are at, and we'll have a ball, we'll have a blast over there. We've been to like some casinos and stuff in Vegas or in San Diego and stuff. I'd take my mom to some casinos, like, have a good time. I'm good. I'm straight. I'm straight. I'm good. I don't need to be down with the community like that. Fuck that. I'm not a teenager. Okay. And it doesn't pay you. That's another thing too. You get nothing out of it. I already did like the community. Oh, excuse me. I already didn't like the community and left it after I saw what they were doing on TikTok with the white mom ones. I was so against them. Okay. Okay, cool. A lot of comments. Let me get back into one of these I got here. This one's another good one. Let me share my screen real quick. This is another good one right here. Got some stuff to say about this. Right? Now, This one is from a dude who's possibly listening right now. I know this was over on TikTok, but he shared this. He made this kind of funny meme, right? You can look at the context as everything here. Says, you sees that pretty mixed ninja over there, right? Ninja implying male, right? So a mixed male, biracial male, okay? He getting too much attention from the womans. And I think it's I put here, or he put here. Let's come up with a plan to cock block him, massa. You know? This shit is funny as hell because I had to share this. I was like, this is literally what the way it works out here. Okay, this is literally how it works. You can't make it up. So the guy, shout out to him, man. He knows who he is, who made this meme. I had to share this shit. I was like, this is too funny. Who else doesn't see it? Like, no, a lot of people just don't like they're not honest with like calling it out basically, or letting it be known that we know the whole tactic. So they openly work with white supremacists. They have been. This is on the plantation days. They're still doing it today. Okay. Says I put here how it goes down in the community. Literally, they always work with white supremacy against mulattoes. Always have been. Okay. Nothing's changed today. And the thing is, it's not even discreet. It's like open. That's why I'm so bold and assertive. People will wonder like my tone and all this. I'm like, look, because you literally have people who are openly working to basically hoodwink you, to cock block you, to mate guard you, to destabilize you. Okay. So yeah, you don't form your own situation, identity formation, culture, development of culture, developing a community, establishing brand, code of conduct, establishing trade, okay, dealing with eternal affairs. They don't want you to do any of that. They want you to stay in debt with them, keep you close. And then they're going to, of course, go right next to their massa to be like, hey, look at that guy. He's getting too much attention, right? He's getting too much attention. Too many women are paying attention to him. So we got to come up with a plan. So the guys listen, you know, this is how, this is the get down. This is how it works. You know, just wanted to share that. I shared that on my community wall, right? I shared it on my community wall, and I received a comment from a gentleman here. I'm going to share right now. So he put this comment there, right? Shout out to this individual. A lot of engagement. He puts crazy how black people try to act like mixed people are the ones whispering in white people's ears about them when it's always been the other way around. Literally, always been the other way around. Because you had guys like Frederick Douglass, who was like, you read his book. I read it. It was on my other channel. I did like audiobook. This is my first like reading publicly audiobook. Wasn't the best quality, you know. I'm not a professional in that. I like to read and write, but that was my first kind of test. The Frederick Douglass autobiography, and you read the story, and the guy like literally grew up on, he would travel, or he got transferred to several different plantations. He had like some horrible experiences in life that were probably some of the worst, getting beaten, bruised, and just and being a slave, being doing slave work. So, but even then, with Frederick Douglass and his experiences, he still made his position to help black people and to help free a lot of them, literally. But that's, we see that today with a lot of these mulattoes, especially if they have a privileged lifestyle, if you want to call it that, meaning they grew up in like an affluent area with wealth, everything taken care of, you know, their parents bought them a car, parents provided a roof over their head, parents, you know, helped them out with college, all this stuff, like, and that people take for granted, you know, a lot of these mulattoes do. We're ungrateful. And all these mulattoes, they get all that stuff from their white parent or their white family, and then they turn around and like talk crap about white people and talk crap about the system of oppression, and then they're like black identify. I don't, you know, it's so, you know, despicable, you know. But like I say, like a lot of these mulattoes are literally helping out the community, but But then we see now today that literally the community is working with these white racists against you. And Kitunani puts here, they'll never be at the white racist side like they're psychologically obsessed with. That's why there's a weird relationship with us, kind of mixed in, pun intended, in this whole ordeal. Where, like I said, the reason why I established my social media, this whole Mulatto Vanguard project, was because I saw the conspiracies that the black supremacists were spreading all over social media. They were referring to mulattoes as a buffer class, right, between black and white. They were spreading Chancellor Williams' conspiracy theories, saying you can't trust the half breeds because they'll work with whites against blacks. And they've historically done that in Kemet. That's what all the black supremacists were saying. I was like, okay, we got to establish a media network to basically rebuttal all of these conspiracies they're pushing on us. And their conspiracies are to not only destabilize us, to neutralize us, but also to mate guard us. Because we know within all these pro whacks, like one of the guys who was pushing it, Tariq Nasheed, he's married to a mulatto woman. Married to the same kind of woman he talked about. The mulattoes were actually selling Africans. They were involved in the slave trade. They were the real ones who were enslaving Africans. It was these mulattoes. They're working with white racists against blacks. See, Tariq Nasheed says that, but then he turns around, he marries a mulatto woman. That's how they are. So, like when these black racists, when they push these conspiracy theories about mulattoes, the men, the Bantu black men, they're talking about mulatto men. This is their mate guarding tactic to say you're duplicitous, you can't be trusted, you're immoral, you are easily bought off. And like I said, I shared a clip on my other channel where you got these white nationalists saying the same shit. And remember, the white nationalist, I'm going to share the video right now. He was basically saying it was a black guy that told him. Remember that, guys? Remember that? I'm going to share the video right now. He literally said, it was his black friend told me, you want to know why J. Edgar Hoover is so obedient? Because he's a mulatto. These mulattoes will, they'll always, sell themselves out and all this shit. Yeah, this is what they're literally publicly admission of guilt, that these blacks are working with these white nationalists to discredit and to neutralize mulattoes. Okay. I'm going to share the proof right now. I developed this clip about a week ago, I believe. All right, listen to this.
Of Malta, J. Edgar Hoover, who was a quadroon. And a black man teach me that. He said, Eric, you know why Hoover was so obedient to these presidents? Because he was a quadroon. These mulattoes and quadroons will do things no self-respecting black man would do.
Now, this is basically, we could say it's a white separatist guy. Now, I've caught on to him. I first heard about him several years ago, but he was talking about other issues. But as I was listening to him, I started to notice he would start identifying us as mulatto. He would be like, oh, the blacks, oh, but then the mulattoes. Like, he would make the distinction that we're not the same as blacks. This is, I guess, a baby boomer. I think he's like in the late 60s, if I'm not mistaken, or early 70s. I forgot, but he's an older guy. He's pretty well researched. You can see the picture here. He has all these books behind him and all this stuff. So he cites his sources and, all this stuff, well read. But he makes a distinction between black and mulatto. And I started really paying more attention to him, like I said, over the past maybe year, a couple years, because he really like goes into this whole mulatto thing. Because what they fear, the white nationalists, is that what's going to happen is when more of us begin developed. How do I want to put this? We're going to be competitive in society. We're not going to be subordinates and docile like their former slaves were. Okay, those of us who have European blood, we're not, because white people fear other white people, as demonstrated in the movie Oppenheimer when they were developing their atomic weapon. And they were feared who? The Russians and the Germans, right? These were different European countries, nations that were basically competing with each other. And there's fear, an element of fear there. So that's kind of the same with us, right? They know, and that's why there's so many clips I have of this guy, okay, on the screen. where he's publicly said, "Oh, if you want to get a black, you got to get a black. Don't get a mulatto." And the reason why he's saying that, if you want to get a black, because he looks at them like dogs. Like, you want like a subordinate dog. You want someone who's loyal, who will listen to you, do your work for you, right? That's how he looks at it. We know, I know, because I'm half white. I grew up around a lot of these people. I know, I understand the game. And that's why a lot of them don't like us. They see that threat that okay, we understand it's going to be competition. That's what race is. RACE, race. You're competing. And a lot of blacks, they just don't get it. Right? They just want white acceptance or that validation from white people. But this guy right here, he said J. Edgar Hoover, you know, was acquiescent to these presidents because he said, oh, because he's a quadroon. He's a quadroon. And he said a black man told him. I'm going to repeat that before I move on.
Am I offending you yet?
He says, oh, and it was a black man that told me. You see how they exchange information, right?
Stop! Of Malta, J. Edgar Hoover, who was a quadroon. And a black man teach me that. He says, you know, Eric.
A black man teach me that. A black man teach me that. And then he makes a distinction here between quadroon and mulatto. Guys, you guys catching on to that? Right? So it was a black man who taught him, that the reason why J. Edgar Hoover was so obedient to these presidents because he was a mulatto and a quadroon, when it's really the other way around. See, they're trying to use this kind of reverse trickery. I know what's going on. I sample and analyze this stuff. I know what's going on. I think I received a comment from even Val, who's in the chat. I think she put something. I'm gonna read. I've seen a few black men be easily manipulated by my father. They listened to every word he said and were totally subservient. They seemed happy that he was even gracing them with his presence. My father, 6'3", blonde hair, blue eyes, used it to his advantage. This Aryan look is not only the most popular look in the white community. If you notice, this is also the most popular look in the black community as well. Of course, they love their white massa. I had a black female friend who saw this photo once said, "Oh, he's fine. Oh, I knew he liked black women." Yeah, and there's a lot of engagement there. Okay, yeah. Okay, let's see right here. So this white nationalist is taking instruction from some random black person about a white admix president from the past working well with whites. Am I hearing that right? Yeah, because they work together. They work together. White nationalist is fearful of mulattoes because he knows that it's primarily the monoracial blacks who will be his subordinate and do his bidding for him. Okay. So they're trying to kind of, he's trying to hide his deception and change the situation. He knows that he can more easily deceive, okay, blacks as they've have done for centuries. Whereas, and I on his channel, that the guy who put that, who the audio you just heard on his channel several months ago, or maybe a year ago, he said something about mulattoes. I just started clipping it. I was like, oh, I can use this for content. And I put in, I would, because he said like, yeah, mulattoes, that we hate white people more than blacks. I have that clip on that channel, on this channel as well. He said the mulattoes, they hate white people 1,000 times more than the blacks. I'm like, how are we going to hate our own parents like that? Like, are there some that do? Yeah, you could find that for sure. But he kind of exacerbates the whole situation. I honestly feel like, because it's his own fear. It's his own fear coming out because he sees that the rise of the mulattoes. I mean, we're everywhere in this country. And that's what a lot of them are fearful, that they have another race that they have to compete with in society, right? Because they already know they got the blacks locked in box. They've literally, you know, the blacks are worshiping their God, their religion, speaking their language, using their currency, uh, their whole operational system is based off them, right? I got it right here. Let me share this one. Why the same exact guy, why he's publicly admitting, if you want to get a black, I mean, if you want a subordinate, get yourself a black. Don't get that half white mulatto because they're going to rebel against you, right? Listen to this guy.
Right.
He hates you white people. Mulattoes hate white people 1,000 times more than the blacks do.
You see this white man here, okay? I think he's a boomer. Out of his own mouth, he says mulattoes hate white people 1,000 times more than the blacks do. So, based off that knowledge, what he's saying, there's fear there. He's saying, oh, we hate him and them people. He's saying, we hate them. Based off that, you know who he's going to be more favorable towards. He's like, oh, okay, since those people, and it's not even hate, it's just competition, it's race. Okay. We have a more racial consciousness development because we see the whole game. We were raised by these people. A lot of us were. So we see the whole game. We see the situation. And those of us choose to go different routes. That's why I'm establishing a tribe, so to speak, doing the best I can with this whole social media experimentation. But it's definitely made some traction, what I'm doing with the effort I'm putting into it. But with this individual, there's a fear there, right? So he's saying, oh, mulattoes hate white people 1,000 times more than the blacks do. And let's listen to what he says after this.
That's why Bob Jones the first used to say, founder of Bob Jones University.
Bob Jones University, Bob Jones the first, is more than likely a preacher, Christian preacher, because this guy's background, he's part of the Christian identity movement. They're using kind of their religious philosophy intertwined with white nationalism to kind of give them justification for rule, etc. Okay.
He said, the blacker they are, the better they are.
The blacker they are, the better they are. Now that goes completely against a lot of the white supremacist philosophies, right? Why is he saying that? The blacker they are, the better they are. And he referenced Obama saying, even though his mama was white, he hates you, white people. The mulattoes hate white people, right? Why is he? It's fear you're hearing from him, right?
And so, how do you want to destroy more white people? Just get the blacks putting out all these mulattoes and these white women with their mulattoes.
And these white women with their mulattoes, right? Because I'm telling you, this is a boomer, but when I look at the what do you call the Gen Z, when I look at the younger generation, okay, over on on X, they call X now. A lot of these guys, they literally have social media pages dedicated to shaming white women. They have one page called like coal burners taking L's because that's the term they use for the white women who sleep with black men. They'll call them coal burners. You got to pay the toll. If you burn the coal, you got to pay the toll. Or they call them mud sharks. Okay, they have different words, but they literally establish social media to shame these women. Okay, right? And he definitely takes that stance as well. Because like I said, a lot of the white women are basically creating mutiny because they've given these women a lot of rights and, pedestalize them in society. And now a lot of the women are getting power hungry, kind of rebelling against them. So they have some internal struggles that they're dealing with. All I'm not asking. And what I'm doing is establishing my stake and my claim for sovereignty, personal autonomy, and building a network and community based around that. They have their own issues. That's not my issue there. Okay. Yeah. And the blacks have their own issues. Those aren't my issues. I realize that now as a mature enough man, as a mulatto in this country, I got my own issues. Okay. And there's other mulattoes who sympathize with me, and our issues are basically similar. So my whole goal is to let's put our heads together, come up with a solution for our problem. We need our own shit. Point blank, period. We need our own situation. We cannot continue to serve these other groups. Okay.
And their offspring are going to be real killers against.
He's talking about these white women. And he's talking about their offspring, the mulattoes. He's saying they're going to be real, they're going to be against white people.
White people. That's why they're doing it.
Okay. I want to share that because, like I shared earlier, with the whole situation about it's like you see how they work together, these white nationalists, and how he trusts the black man's words. And a black man, they work together against the mulattoes. But see, the black nationalists are literally publicly all over social media trying to say, you mulattoes work with these whites. And then what happens with these mulattoes who are stupid? Then they go back to the black. So I'm the good one. I'm pro black. I'm not working with these whites against you. So they got these mulattoes punked because now they're in a position they have to prove their blackness. They have to prove their loyalty to the black race. And I already told you guys on this stream, I specified there's certain criteria and strategies that these mulattoes do, they follow to get in good membership access, entry level to the communita. Typically with the biracial men, the mulattoes, they'll be subordinates, they'll be foot soldiers, simp enforcers, punks for these bantus. Now the women, they'll often do social justice work, virtue signaling, and or they'll have pookies, bastard, illegitimate kids, right? And that's the kind of method for them to anchor themselves into blackness. Okay. So, and of course, we know the biracial guys do the same thing. They'll get a black woman partner. There's a guy who just followed me on Instagram. He's a Black Manosphere guy. His name is Attorney Dennis Sperling. Okay, who wants to claim he's all black. You look at him. Okay, yeah, he's not black. You know, you got some black in you. That's fine. We can all see that, but you're not black like these dark skinned Bantus. So, yeah, Attorney Dennis Sperling. He's got like what 10,000 followers on IG. He followed me over there, and I don't know. I haven't watched his YouTube channel in a long time. I don't know how many subscribers he has on YouTube, but I know he has several thousand, probably 50K or higher. So he's watching. He knows. We know. Okay, these people are out here. A lot of these mulattoes are silent. Okay. And but what I'm saying is with Attorney Dennis Sperling, I already know the tactic and strategy he did, like a lot of other mulattoes of his, generation. There wasn't really a kind of a pathway to mulatto-ness. So what they do, these older kind of old school mulattoes, is they got with a black woman and had mostly black kids, what people would call a griff or whatever. So they did that to basically anchor themselves and establish their stake in their claim, establish legitimacy in the black group. They say, "Oh, look at my kids. My kids are mostly black, even though I look mixed. Well, I'm still black. I identify as black." And so yeah, that's the method people use, and it's in reverse as well. They'll do that with the white group as well, right? My whole situation, my whole basically argument is, well, why can't we just try to work it out with each other? Like we have everything we need. Makes sense to me. Instead of fighting other people's battles, being a kind of utilitarian class of individual, why not just establish our own situation? Makes more sense. Let me get into one more comment I have here, and then I'll get to all your guys' comments. Shout out to all the people in the chat. Respect to you guys. Going to go live on my other channel this weekend, but I just wanted to hop up here again because I know I've been uploading other people's like clips onto this channel, but I want to give you guys my kind of commentary live impromptu. So shout out to Mulatto Northern Lights. She posted this comment the other day. She puts, "That's very true. I felt that too with another mulatto woman. She was very defensive, talking about trying to kind of coordinate and connect with other mulattoes." I did a video about that, and Mulatto Northern Lights put the comment on the video about the need to create companionship and connection and camaraderie with mulattoes. We need it now more than ever. Okay, but it's a very challenging. You'll come to find out, and she puts here, yeah, she was very defensive. It's like how white people oppose each other whenever they get around each other in front of other races. I don't know. That depends. It depends on the environment. Have I seen that? Yeah, I think I've seen that for sure. Can't say I have not seen that. I've seen that. But I definitely see that white people are definitely more on code than probably every other group. And they have a very strong code of conduct. And that's one of the primary reasons why they've been able to establish rule for so long, whatever land they're on. You have to have a strong type of cohesive network and rule of law and code of conduct to maintain the ship, Some people say the sink is shipping. Yeah, some people will say we got to get Donald Trump in there, or the whole thing is, going to implode and all this. But that's always their kind of political, you know, uh, argument every election. This is the most important election. We got to keep Joe Biden in there so he can keep bringing in all the illegals. We got to get Donald Trump in there so he can build the wall and protect the country. Everybody, they always say it's the most important election. So what Bree puts here is yeah, it's like mulatto people don't want to appear like we are trying to be a part of some oppressive class. So we avoid each other. Yeah, very true. Very true. You'll see kind of this weird kind of like this weird behavior a lot of mulattoes engage in where it's like literally sabotage. They want to distance themselves from other mulattoes and not even work with them, even be against them to try to prove to the darker skinned Bantus that, oh, they want your loyalty more than them. I don't even want to know them, get to know them. That's like a psychological mind fuck game that's literally been established where you have, mulattoes who don't even want to kind of coordinate with each other out of fear that dark skinned Bantus are not going to approve, right? This fear situation. And but of course they can, anybody is allowed to basically associate with anybody they want. It's just you don't want to be, you know, appear to be threatening, right? Just getting along with people. It's like mulatto people, yeah, don't oppressive class avoid each other. It shows that our mere presence in groups is perceived as a threat to some, which shouldn't be a problem to us because black people in groups is perceived as a threat to many people, right? Same for white people, Asian people, Latino people. Now that immigration is on the rise, exactly. So why should we be scared to group up? We shouldn't. There should be no fear at all. But the black identified mulattoes are the ones who are definitely going to be scared what Bantus have to think about them, right? So LOL, when some groups come together, they actually do damage and cause chaos, like at the border and like that time on spring break. And we were just talking about building relationships with each other. Exactly. Shout out to Bree for that. Or yeah, Mulatto Northern Lights, because it's like that's what it is. We're just talking about building relationships. Okay. If you have a business, promote it. There's a gentleman I'm gonna bring on my channel who has something to share, and I'm gonna get into that in the future a little bit coming up soon. So I'm definitely gonna bring him on to talk about a lot of interesting things. It's like to promote, like even with Afro P and Monica, she's a publisher. She helps people publish books. So if you guys are in a process of writing a book, you need a publisher, consult with her. Afro P and Monica, like that whole position here is if you guys have a business, you guys have any type of, services that you want to promote and utilize. This is literally why I established one of the main functions, reasons I established this social media platform, not just to give us a voice to let people know you have a tribe, you have a place, but we can network. This is what it is. This is literally a functioning community. And I like what Northern Lights put, where it's like, yeah, some groups come together and they cause chaos and they're disruptive. But with us, we're just trying to, I just want to be with other mulattoes. Like when J4 asked me, like, what's the whole goal? J4 Conversations is the YouTube channel I'm referencing. I think his name's Alonzo. And he's an older mulatto cat. Very eloquent, articulate guy. And he asked me the question, like, what's the goal? What's the mission? And I'm like, look, I just want to I just want to associate and be around other mulattoes. Okay, that's it. There's no gimmick. There's no trick. And it was the same thing with Monica. Like I just referenced her. She publishes people's books. You can consult with her, Afro P and Monica, over in London. So when I went over to London, we met, me and Monica, last year, and she asked me too, like what's the ultimate goal, like what's the purpose and all this. And I was like, look, I'm accomplishing everything I sought out to do. I just want to be around other mulatto people. This is like, to me, it's normal. This is what we should do. It feels good, it feels right. And there's nothing disruptive about this. Now, what people have an issue with me is because I have some kind of heavy critiques. Okay. But a lot of the critiques I feel like are definitely warranted because we're like far behind because it's like people have been dirty macking us, spreading conspiracies about us, slandering us for a minute. Literally, probably, I would say over probably a decade by this time. These anti-mulatto conspiracies that the mulattoes are a buffer class. They're always working with the white man behind the scenes to destabilize blacks. You can't trust the half-breed mulattoes. They've been saying this shit for over a decade. So like I'm saying, I'm late to the game. I've barely been 2 years getting up here, basically rebuttaling all that crap. So yeah, I'm not stopping. So let's see, check this out. Shout out to Val. Mulattoes who grew up in a white community don't understand how AAs work. Interesting. Yeah, you make a good point. Yeah, I was fooled too. You're damn right. I was fooled, right? I grew up, it was pretty diverse, multicultural, multiracial, I would say. Like, but yeah, I have a white mom. I think most of my neighbors were white for sure on the block that I grew up on. But I remember I had a Vietnamese neighbor, Filipino neighbor. There weren't that many Mexicans in my neighborhood back then, but now it's if I go back over there, it's probably a lot different. Like a lot has changed in California with immigration, like from the 90s, like say 80s, 90s, all the way to what 2024 now. So the demographics look a lot different. And that's not just in California, that's in other places like Harlem, New York, or Washington, DC. What blacks will say it's gentrification or whatever, right? But you also have immigrants like in DC area, you got a lot of Salvadorians over there. So a lot of places around the country, you would be amazed over just 1 or 2 decades, 20 years, how the whole city, like neighborhood environment will just change with a completely different group of people. So yeah, I didn't grow up around in an AA community. They will always challenge you. That's how they are socially. They do this to each other as well. Yeah, look at their results though. Like I don't want that for my children. I'm sorry. At this point, any light skinned person that has to prove their blackness, yeah, they got to find another community. Like you're gonna prove your whole life, but the dark skins, the Bantus, they don't have to prove shit, do they? Nope, not to you, because you don't ask them for nothing. In this community, even with two black parents, then they just need to go. Yeah, they got to do their own crap at that point because it honestly is a waste of time. Well, for me, like I did the pro wax shit for a while. I had my pro black phase, but after a few years, I realized I'm just wasting time here. Okay. I'm just wasting time. And I think a lot of people, they got to realize that early on quickly. I guess get the experience, navigate their spaces, study them, that group of people, how they operate. Okay. But you got to just pack up your stuff and leave. Make minimal investments like I did. I gave Dr. Umar Johnson like what $30. I donated to his school. I think I donated to um Dr. Claude Anderson to his think tank. I bought some books. I attended some conferences and meetings, which I would never take back. I learned as good. There's good people too. That's the thing. Like it gets a bad rep. That's why I kind of laugh and I say pro whack. I mock them. But there's a lot of good African American people that are proud to be black and that have integrity, that are honest, that are involved in those spaces. Now I'm talking about the real life physical spaces, like some of the places I went to in Los Angeles that was organized by was it Rosie Milligan, if I believe. She's out there in South Central LA. She does a lot of community development and does like a black. She publishes books as well. She has her own business and she helps people publish books. And she does like a whole black book club thing or black business expo out there in LA. And it's like, look, there's a lot of good people there. There's a lot of good. There's a lot of positivity. There's good people. It's very Afrocentric, but there's a lot of pride there. Um, so you have to kind of pick your environments, your places, your circles. That's the key thing. So yeah, let me see what we got here. I'm gonna get a few more of these comments, guys. Close things out. I appreciate you guys being here. If you do like the content, hit the like button. I appreciate that. Okay, Val puts right here. Maybe black women defend their mothers more than black men, which makes no sense because black moms treat their black daughters worse than their sons. Interesting, interesting. I've heard other people have that who stated that as well. The quote unquote Asians are racist was spoken about, but they didn't care because they weren't white. It's probably because they see whites as superior, but not Asians. Interesting. Laugh my ass off. I feel like in the black community, it was well known those Chinese people hated them and they don't care, man. They only care if it's somebody like their white god, their white massa, they do care. If their white massa doesn't like them, they cry, they feel sad. Um and then if it's a black person that doesn't like them, right? Then they seem to care about that. So if it's a white, their white master care. Yeah, but if it's these other groups, they don't, man, I'm telling you, like I had my wake up call when I was in San Diego and I saw this. I was like, you cannot make, even when I traveled in New York, it was an Asian business. It was like a Asian takeout business. And I walked in there ready to buy food. And I could tell like the Asian people that were there, they didn't even, the owners of the store, they didn't even want me there in the damn restaurant. I could just feel the vibe right away. You walk into a business. I've walked out of another business. It was in Oakland. Or it was actually in Berkeley. Yeah, it was in Berkeley, which is next to Oakland. But it was an East Indian business, East Indian restaurant, which I love East Indian food. I like patronizing the food, the businesses for their food if they're respectable, if the establishment is respectable and there's good people, or there are, I would say not, good people. I'm saying in terms of their service is good. But there's one business, the guy just right away when I walked in, he like pointed at the menu. He wasn't like attentive to me. I just turned around and walked the fuck out. I was like, how dare you to disrespect? So, but like I'm saying, I felt that when I went to a Chinese takeout place in New York. Okay. This was like like Harlem area, Manhattan area, whatever, Harlem. I'm not really acquainted with all the boroughs and neighborhoods out there, but and yeah, man, I walked as soon as I walked in there, I just felt the vibe. I was like, "What? You're not gonna look at me and talk to me like you?" They were like, they didn't want me in there, and I had money in my pocket. I'm here to spend money, and I saw a black woman who was sitting there waiting for her food, and I just turned out and walked out. I was like, "Fuck this! I'll go to McDonald's or go somewhere else." Like, I'm not gonna have people look at me any kind of weird way or try to treat me, but then they want me to like give them money, like I don't get that, but I feel like with a lot of black people, they accept that, right? They accept that. You guys see these videos online. You've seen these videos not only with the nail salons, but like with corner stores or liquor stores with like, you know, the owners, and the black customer. There's like conflict and stuff like that. But a lot of black people still go back to the damn store to give them their money. See, that's not me, that's not me. I can't do that. People got to look at me and address me a certain way if they want me to do business with them. Okay. If they want to act all funny, they got to be paying me a lot of money. That's the way I'm looking at it now. Even with some of these companies and businesses and potential employers where it's like, look, you got to pay me this amount of much because I'm not going to put up with your shit for like minimal dollars. I can't do that. Okay. No, no. But yeah, I appreciate your comments, Val. Mulatto, okay, I already did that one. Apologize. Let me kind of speed it up here. Same. Oh, I want to get this one right here. You put here, I agree, Val. The black mom will usually coddle and be soft with their sons while pushing black women and young girls to cape for black men at a young age. Treat them terribly. Interesting. Yeah. 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 We know that it's very common we see in the black community where like the black men are worshipped, right? You have a lot of, and I know the divestors talk about that, Cynthia G. And at first, first glance, I was kind of like, I don't know. But upon further review, just in relation to biracial and how, like, there's a lot of biracial men who like black women or prefer them in some cases, but it's like that it's not extended the other way around. I don't see black women promoting biracial men. So it leads me to think, well, then who the hell are these black women preferring? Because we know most of them aren't really preferring white men. It's they're promoting that they want black men, right? Which is normal. They're black, but I feel like there's an unhealthy kind of relationship. Well, clearly, we can see that with the numbers and statistics, but where they're worshipped, that's the term. And I saw some other black woman reference that. I don't know if she's a divester or BWE, whatever, but she referenced that, said worship. And I think that's a good way to phrase it because I agree. I see that. Like, how can you be a degenerate? Like, you look at this rapper Future, all these baby mamas, or even this other guy. What's this rapper? A Blueface or something like that. One of these rappers, he's got like multiple baby mamas. And I'm like, who else does that? How is that normal? Like, how is it that a completely defunct individual, tattoos on the face, baby mamas, bastard kids, like, how is that individual given sexual access in that environment? How is that? Like, I don't see that happening with any other group. Like, where the lowest common denominator, like someone who's clearly just like deplorable, is given free range sexual access. It's because those people are worshipped. If you're the Pookie archetype, the black male Pookie archetype, so the black women worship black men who are Pookies. Okay, not saying all. Don't take offense to this, people. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. I'm saying I'm just making a general observation here that the black men who are decent, hardworking, and civilized, a lot of these guys, these gentlemen, have to go elsewhere to find a suitable mate because they realize that their community they were raised in is kind of fucked up. It doesn't serve them. That's why you have a lot of black men, a lot of them, the businessmen, they have their passport, they're going elsewhere, or they go to other communities because they realize, look, they're getting a shitty deal because the Pookie archetype reigns supreme in the community because black women worship. And I'm not saying all, okay, people, but I'm saying it's normal the culture where those type of men, the Pookie, deplorable men, are worshipped by a large percentage of black women. I didn't make the rules. I'm just giving you guys my observation. Like I said, I'm trying not to generalize or make any false assumptions. I'm just giving you an honest observation. So take it how you will. As I said, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. But I always defend the good people with integrity who are decent and civilized. I'm not saying anything bad about them. The light skin stare refers to attractive mixed light skinned men. I heard of that. Like there's a meme or something, light skin stare. Like I said, I'm kind of new to that conversation because I didn't even hear about none of this light skin shit until I got around these blacks because nobody else, Hispanic or white, they don't use that type of language about like light skin like that. Not to the extent that I see the community does. But I seen a meme or something. I don't even look at these light skin memes. Like I'm not part of the black community. Like those aren't my issues. The whole colorism thing. This is just some shit that I see when I turn on the internet. Because out in the real world, I'm not dealing with these people like that, like to where I'm in their environment and I hear this like light skin, dark skin shit. I don't care. You know, mostly dark skinned men, black men say this almost as they find them attractive themselves. Yeah, they're suspect, right? A lot of them are down low, suspect. That's why they're talking about these light skinned guys, right? Isn't this, isn't this way black people today will say, you would have had it better because you would have been in the house, not the field. Yeah. A lot of them are trying to take you back to the damn plantation, right? As being a slave in the house is amazing. Even the actual slaves wanted to be in the house around whites. Yeah. I asked a black man the other day why he never hears mixed people bring up slavery and how it's only blacks, even though we both were slaves. Yeah. You don't hear mixed people bring up slavery that much, right? Well, yeah, it's because you're mixed. You got a white parent. What the hell? What are you complaining about? You know? What do you complain? Because they're virtue signalers, they're capers, they got the cape on, they feel sorry. So, and they coddle that community so much to the extent where it's basically kind of, it's having negative effects. Okay. Because now that same community, they're so cocky now and arrogant. They're spitting on biracials, cracking jokes, slapping them in the face and crap, calling them tragic mulattoes. They only call tragic mulattoes to these biracials who are trying to be all up in their spaces and shit, trying to be accepted by them. Once you're not trying to be accepted by them, you're not in their space, you're doing your own shit. How is this tragic when you're functioning, flourishing, and you're growing and you're bringing in results? You're improving your engagement. You're building connections. More opportunities come with that. Like, how is that tragic? I'm looking at a lot of these people like, dude, I'd never trade places with you. Fuck that. You know, they only use that tragic mulatto tactic to try to punk these mulattoes who are trying to be down with them and all this crap. Honestly, that's what I see. Interesting enough, white mom mulattoes during slavery were born free. Black mom mulattoes were slaves, like Frederick Douglass, is what the consensus is. Maybe it's similar jealousy today with white moms. I think what it is, the jealousy, yeah, it's because of the environment. Okay. But the thing is, you have a lot of trashy white women who are getting impregnated by trashy black men. And you look at the results, it's like, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. So, but then you have situations where the white woman isn't more, college educated, like my mom, a suburban area, more affluent. And then, like my father, who was a military serviceman, who then, of course, got into the, factory work, working professional. And then they got together. So it's like you have two working professionals, college educated, military background, and yeah, you see some results that are, I mean, I think I'm pretty decent. I know my sister is definitely a standard for me. I use when I reference my family. I'm like, my sister is doing very well. My brother is too, for sure. So my family, my siblings are doing very well. They're doing better than me. They're a little older than me, but I'm doing good with what I'm doing. I got my passport. I got money in the bank, and I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Just kind of fixated on this purpose and moving forward with that, connecting with you guys. But yeah, you put here born free because they're in the white community. Yeah. It's not easy escaping the African American community. Yeah, I definitely sympathize with you for sure. And that's why, I mean, I really appreciate the fact that you're here. And I want you to know that this is where you belong for sure. And for the audience listening as well. But yeah, yeah, I think the jealousy is not so much that my mom's white. It's the fact that the environment. Because like I said, like Robert De Niro, he's a white man. He has several mulatto children. I'm pretty damn sure they're well, more well off than me. Oh, by 1,000 times, right? With all that money and wealth and affluence, and even Ketanji Jackson's daughter. Okay, she, because I think Ketanji Jackson, like Supreme Court Justice, I believe her husband is a white man. He's a, I believe he's a doctor, a physician. So like that, and you look at her daughter, Ketanji Jackson's daughter, like she was raised in a affluence area, right? So it's like, yeah, I don't think it's so much the mom, it's more so the environment, I feel like. And I think in a lot of cases, a lot of us, it just depends on the environment. Because yeah, I see some of these mulattoes, like I said, I'm gonna repeat it before I move on, that have trashy white moms. And then you look at their kind of circumstances and situations, you're like, yeah, there's nothing to be jealous about with them. you know, some of these mulattoes grew up close to a damn trailer park, and now they're just trying to act black to get all cool with the blacks. And it's just, yeah, I don't identify. The environment's critically important, right? Even their insults related to whites. First of all, it would be better to be at the bottom of white society than to be at the top of black society as a mulatto. That's interesting. Hmm, interesting. Let me get into some of this here. It gets really hard to escape sometimes. It's really a blessing when you have the opportunity to not have to deal with these community. Like I'm low key wish there was a program for multiracial mulatto. So when they tell me, quote unquote, the white people see you as, quote, it's like, okay, whatever. Yeah, I don't give a shit what these whites see me as. I'll publicly say it. I mean, every opportunity I get on this channel, I don't give a shit. I'm not asking them to like see me a certain way or for acceptance. If you are a decent, if you're hardworking, if you create a product that people can use, a service people like, it doesn't matter. People are going to support it regardless. Okay. If you're level headed and you have something of value, okay, people are going to support it. And that will be your kind of entry way, to my opinion. I don't give a damn what white people see me as. There's a lot of people who don't even like me. A lot of Mexicans don't like me. There's a lot of whites who don't like me. A lot of damn blacks. So I don't give a shit what any of you people, see me as. How do I see myself when I look in the mirror? That's the question. If that's true, it's been so much better than being top in the AA community. Interesting. Yeah. And MGM people for us to come together and at least build something together because having to build with them is tiring. MVG, what you mentioned before, we do need our own protected class. The more power white liberals give AA, the more they discriminate against mulattoes. Yeah, you hit the nail on the head right there. You're right, because these white liberals empower black people, the African American community, and the African American community is going to wield that power over mulattoes to openly discriminate. It's not even kind of in secret or behind the scenes. It's open now, not just in social media, but the working environment. I experienced that in one of the recent environments I was at. Like I said, they work with their white massa openly against mulattoes. If there's not that many of us in a company, institution, business, like one of the places I was just recently at, where it's like, yeah, they're gonna try to run you out of there. They're gonna make it so uncomfortable for you, the tribalism and stuff like that they engage in. And the blacks aren't your friend. Like if you're a mulatto guy, I mean, and you're in an environment where it's all blacks or whites or Mexicans, whatever, and you're one mulatto, like those people are not your friend. They're not on your team, and they will be the first ones to let you know they're not. That's what I experienced. It wasn't the whites. Yeah, there were white racists there. Yeah, and they said something. I said something back. Same with the blacks. Same with the Mexicans. Okay, so I'm from California, so I was like, damn, I'm ready to fight you people, all you. And but yeah, the blacks were the first ones to let you know that they don't have your best interest. That's why I love it, like the gaslighting about oh, those people, they just gonna see you as black. No, the whites see me as mixed. And a lot of them, we can see the tactics they're using now politically, or especially these liberals. They're giving these African Americans power. These African Americans are going to turn around, discriminate against us, right? And they're going to try to build their phony coalitions with the people of color, the Latinos, the black and brown, right? Yeah, you guys see this, but those conversations are going to be had elsewhere. Let's see what we got here. Those white supremacists are scared because mulattoes can go toe to toe with someone white. That's what it is. That's exact. We will challenge them for power. And I told this guy, I didn't tell him physically. I just put a comment, and I was like, yeah, look at the historical examples. You have Hannibal in Rome and Carthage, right? Hannibal, literally from North Africa, went over to Rome and seized Rome. I don't know. I don't have the historical dates or time frame. But then even with John Zombie, I referenced those in the comments. I was like, look at John Zombie over in Haiti. Okay. You have these mulattoes across the globe who will literally go to battle. And that's what they're fearful of. They know that there's these mulattoes who can rally up all these blacks to go to challenge the system to get power. And I started noticing a shift in the American social order around 2015 with Colin Kaepernick, with this ascendance and this emergence of Donald Trump running for office, but then also with the whole Colin Kaepernick situation with Bend the Knee. It was like literally a movement, right? And he the number one sport in the nation, the National Football League, Colin Kaepernick, this quarterback, bending the knee, and all these blacks kind of followed suit with him. And he became like this literally poster child for this modern day kind of civil rights kind of protest demonstration, right? I really started to see that time the general consensus within white America, the people I interact with, their kind of attitudes towards mulattoes shift and change. Before then, I didn't see that much animosity. A lot of them could relate because I'm half white, got a white mom, right? But after that, man, 2015, like the whole Colin Kaepernick thing, I really started to see a shift. I really did. And there was the fear. There's a fear there, right? They're scared because they know mulattoes will fight. And a lot of these mulattoes, they fight a lot of white people all the time because they want acceptance into blackness, right? They want to prove the blacks that they're down with the blacks. So they got to fight whites, right? That's what these mulattoes do. And of course, the blacks don't have to do shit. They can sit on their ass eating hot Cheetos and chasing light skinned women. you know, it's just these mulattoes, if they want access into their group, they got to do all this fighting, right? This extra work because they're a work mule. They got to work to get that membership access, right? And unlike someone who's full black, yeah, no doubt. He put, so his source confirming that J. Edgar Hoover was quadroon was some black guy, right? This guy knows what he's talking about. Yeah, it's confirmation bias, though. Someone said something about J. Edgar Hoover being an octoroon, or he's got some admixture, minimal admixture. You look at J. Edgar Hoover, I don't know what his like racial background is. There were rumors about him being a cross dresser, that him being gay, J. Edgar Hoover, but there's been no real official kind of release or documentation that I've publicly seen. These were just rumors, government secrets, a lot of rumors about that. So this idea that he was like a quadroon or octoroon or whatever, like I don't see a lot of information on that. And honestly, I haven't even really looked into it. But then they were saying the same thing about Dwight D. Eisenhower, that he has some African admixture. Remember, with the pro wax, the one droppers, if you got a drop of black blood, then all the pro wax are gonna claim you. Oh, you the first black president. Charles Drew, he invented the blood bank. He got a drop of black blood, so he a black man according to my white massa, right? So they'll look at a guy like Dwight D. Eisenhower and say because he's got a drop of African in him, that makes him black. No, it doesn't. But they so desperately want to claim all these different people. It's hilarious, right? I remember a few years ago, Jason Black invited Richard Spencer to his home for an interview. Yeah, because he's, like I said, Jason Black. It's funny because his audience pointed that out. Jason Black, the whack authority, another pro whack black militant who's pushing the anti mulatto conspiracy theories, another one. Okay. His own audience, or people were pointing out, he'll bring in a white supremacist like Richard Spencer into his own home for an interview. He'll give him a face to face interview. See, that black racist respects that white racist and they'll work together in their own home. Right. But this, the black authority, Jason Black, he doesn't even respect his own black audience enough to show his face to them. So Richard Spencer knows what Jason Black looks like, right? But his own damn audience on YouTube doesn't even know. See, that's how much they respect you. But you made a good point that, yeah, these black supremacists, they've always worked with these white supremacists behind the scenes. It's just the stupid ass mulattoes who haven't figured it out yet. Too bad. If they're not listening to this channel, they're not getting this information. That's on them. They've already been informed and warned. It's on them. White libs are undercover racists. Oh yeah, they are the covert. The overt would be more so the conservative right side of things. They'll be more overtly, but yeah, the sneaky weird racist are going to be more so on the liberal left side. They're very undercover, covert, and sneaky racist. Oh yeah, they dislike blacks' behavior too. That's why they don't want them in their neighborhoods. Yeah, exactly. I was in like San Diego and some of these other places where these more liberal white areas. And yeah, they was all segregation. They didn't want blacks around them. I saw in San Diego, man, it was crazy. the segregation there. People think, oh, it's California, it's all liberal. Yeah, it's all liberal, and it's a ton of segregation. It's right in front of your eyes. It's crazy. Even looking at a guy like me, some of the neighborhoods I'd run around in, I could tell like a lot of people were like they're not used to seeing someone even with my complexion like running down the sidewalk there, getting my workout jog in. It was pretty evident. It's like open, segregation. That's why they don't want them in their neighborhoods. They're trying to force blacks on everybody, but they don't want them around. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, they don't even want them around their own their own situation. Yeah, you make a good point. White libs like using foolish blacks as puppets. Yeah, most of your black politicians in America are liberals, right? But let's be honest, a lot of the Republican ones are just as stupid as hell too, right? Let's be honest. Yeah. And the thing is too, there's so many Republican grifters. That's one thing I realized too. Like with the liberals, yeah, we get it. They're pro illegal, pro LGBT, all this stuff. But like the conservatives, man, I don't listen to none of these conservative commentators. And you have a bunch of mulattoes who are a bunch of fucking grifters, man, trying to grift off this conservative shit. I'm not gonna name names, okay? But I at least have like a whole list of like 10 different mulattoes in America, men and women. But I see a lot of women, mulattoes, who are straight up trying to develop their social media platform, being conservative grifters. I'm like, it's so easy to grift for the right wing, for the conservative side. I'm seeing this stuff. I thought about this the other day, like one of the pages that I follow, I was scrolling through. I didn't even click on the video. It's like, yeah, I'll stay subscribed. If you talk about some biracial stuff, I'll watch it. But if it's some right wing or some liberal, you want to attack the libs and all this shit, I'm like, this grifter shit is like so corny, man, at this point. It's just too easy to grift. Makes people who are lucky enough to not be exposed to blacks growing up are on a regular basis don't realize how insane they are. I'm gonna upload a video and pretty soon about like what I say is like a lot of the savagery and barbarism that they exhibit when things don't go their way, or if they're quote unquote disrespected or something. It's like, oh, we going, on the spot, we're gonna have to deal with your ass or something. I received a comment from someone on TikTok. I'm gonna made a video about it. I'll upload it pretty soon. But that's what I talked about in the video. It's like a lot of them, they show their ass when they're like disrespected or something. They'll get real violent. They'll start to act like savages, right? It's yeah, it's and you want look at the results, you look at the treatment, and then the older you get, the more mature you kind of realize, okay, I can see why. I realized that in San Diego. And I was looking at all these hardworking Mexicans, and these were what they called like paisas. So they just kind of just came over to America, kind of to work and build a tire shop, Mexican business. They helped me fix my tire, good service, fast service, respect. I'm like, I support these people, man. I'll do business with these people, just the based off the service, the work ethic, or the taquerias, that they have, the businesses they establish in the San Diego area. And it's like, and then I see black people like trying to hustle these, white women, okay, broke people and begging for shit. And then they look at me and someone will get an attitude with me because I'm mixed. I'm like, I don't, you people, you're not my people. I'm not fucking with you. See, I woke up and when I went to San Diego, I started to look at this stuff. And then all the same people were going to line up to give all these Asians their money. I was like, oh my God, you can't help them. I'm sorry, guys. People say I'm mean, and that's fine. Just I'm here sharing my life experiences. That's all. They get mad when they feel rejected by whites. Yeah, because they love and worship whites more than us. When we're half white. And that's why and that white nationalist knows that. See, that's why he's fearful of mulattoes, because he knows it's going to be that mostly black, dark-skinned, monoracial who loves and worships whites and who won't challenge them for power, authority, right? The only folks that spend money with people who disrespect them are black people, pretty much. Yeah. It is, and I can say that publicly. It is like that's why I know I'm not black, because I'll go to a business and it's like, look, if you look at me weird, or say something I don't like, I'm out of there. I'm taking my money elsewhere. Okay. You're right. It is basically a black thing. And honestly, other black people can admit that as well. I'm not, just a guy up here spouting kind of quote unquote anti-black sentiment. It's just, my observations seems to be kind of concurrent with other people, even other people who are black. They'll be like, yeah, they have a real bad habit of giving people money who disrespect them. I don't get it. I don't see Asians do that. I just don't see Mexican people do that. And white people, I just don't see it. I don't see these other groups lined up to a business that doesn't make them feel welcome. And also, when I was in San Diego, there was another place too. Because I'm mentioning San Diego, California, because this is where a lot of I started to process all this stuff. I would go to these different businesses and I would analyze the behavior of black people in these establishments. And this was like a fish fry place. They did all their like shrimp and fish fry, catfish, and all the fried fish stuff. And the business was owned, of course, by someone who wasn't black, and all the employees, all the workers were like Mexican guys. And but yet all the customers were black people. And I'm in there and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, you can't help those people. If you're mulatto, like you got to just go elsewhere, man. You got to go build something, go do something. I'm sorry. People can clip this and say whatever the fuck they want. I'm public with this because it's I just don't see other people who are giving them people who don't like them money like that. And in that business, all let me specify, in that business, I could tell by the workers, and I would hear them say some comments too that they were not even happy, that they didn't even want to serve that group of people, but that was their job. They were getting paid to. And I just like didn't understand how like a lot of the black customers didn't weren't able to read the room to realize that the people on the other side of the counter that they don't really like you. I mean, you could try to kiss their ass and act like they're cool because they're making you your food, but for a guy like me, eating that fish is not that important. I can go to the grocery store, buy the fish myself and make it myself, or I can go to another business. Like, maybe I'm too sensitive. I don't know. But I refuse to like do business with people who don't appreciate my business fully, right? Imagine worshiping a group of men who have repeatedly failed you for centuries, right? Look at all these sports athletes. Look at all their coaches. You think of like where black men exercise their masculinity, right? Which is typically in athletics, on the basketball court, the football field. Look at who owns the entire institution. The whole organization is ran by white men. White men own all the sports teams, the sports leagues, all the sponsorship for all the companies that sponsor all the sports, NFL and all this stuff. It's all white corporations. Who manufactures all the equipment? It's for all the footballs and basketballs, the jerseys, the cleats, all the sports equipment, all the manufacturing companies are white owned. So the whole entire operation is white men who run the entire operations. They just have their slaves on the field running the ball around, acting they want to act like they're special because they can get a white woman, get a white chick, and then they have a mulatto child. And the tragedy of those people, okay, the former slave, is when their child doesn't identify with them. Okay. So that's the tragedy on them, not on us. People like me have come to the realization we got to establish something. It's true that a lot of black males are sexually attracted to, that's why they try to punk them. Yeah. I didn't grow up around them, so I didn't. The results, a majority of children in a foster care system are mulattoes. Yeah, the mulattoes are heavily represented. And I've met a lot of them here. When I say here, on like the YouTube streets, we could say, just interacting with different, YouTube users who put comments or have joined a panel or this or that were sampled very large in the foster care system. And that's an effort that we have to make together as a group to solve that. That's an issue. I've talked about that before as well on this channel. I've done I did a stream about that a year ago, but I've talked about it, kind of briefly as a main goal, a mission of mine is even behind the scenes. I was talking to a guy about that. Like, this is a big dilemma we have. We got to solve this. You know, a lot of us are brought up in foster care, and I mentioned too, yeah, in California, Christian Bale, the actor who played Batman and stuff, he just opened up a foster care in California. I forgot which area, but he put like I think $10 million. He put up his money to open up a whole so something like that. It's very admirable for him, but like we have to be able to do something like that as well because we know we're sampled. We're a large sampled number because interracial relationships have a very high divorce rate and separation rate, and a lot of the children get the kind of shit end of the stick of that whole deal. Now, I'm just very thankful and blessed that my mom is a good enough person. I had a good mom where I was able to be in an environment where it wasn't always perfect, but damn it, when I look at other people out here in society, I'm like, it still served me well. Okay. To where I can still, have a passport. I can still travel when I choose to. I can see the world. I can for sure see this whole country, and interact with people, go to different social settings, even jump into environments that are more affluent than me, where it's like, well, I'm at a place, but I'm learning. Like in the arts, you go to like performing arts, in classical music, you go see symphonies and orchestras, and like these are like high class, high society environments. And it's like I'm not even supposed to be there, but I'm just intrigued that I can actually have access to that type of stuff. And I say that thanks to my mom, I think, for the environment that I was raised in, to know that there's levels that I can obtain and there's in places I can go. And that's another thing too I want to mention, where often like I did a couple videos where you had, when I want to say this, I'll say that like my mom never told me that like that I have to like know my place amongst white people. That's one thing I want to say. My mom never told me that I have to know my place amongst white people. To oh, don't take up space in white spaces, because you'll hear that. You'll have, I've done videos or I've done reaction videos, live streams to there was a black woman from the UK, and she was talking about her biracial child, and she was like, "Oh, I'm gonna train my biracial child to be balanced. I'm gonna train my biracial child to not take up space in black spaces." And I have a problem with that statement because that black woman is basically positioning her biracial child to be a subordinate to blacks. Like, and that's the thing I compare because my mom never ever told me to like know my place in white society and to not take up space. I feel like that's why a lot of white mom biracials are pretty like some of them can be kind of like militant and adamant because I think because of the fact they were raised, a lot of them were probably raised with a lot of confidence. They realize like, well, shit, my mom never told me to not take up space, not take up space with this group of people and stuff like that, like to be a subordinate. I never heard that crap from my mom. Let me move on. A lot of those mulattoes give up for adoption and blame their white mom. Kid Rock's son, I think the oldest one has a black mom. Yeah, and MGK. Yeah, so Kid Rock probably has a mulatto child, and MGK has a daughter, mulatto daughter. Yeah, Machine Gun Kelly is MGK. I don't follow either of those artists, their music. I don't deny that some mulattoes experience racism from whites, especially those hick towns. However, the A community won't be their salvation. Yeah, you're gonna have it worse. Yeah, I thought that that was part of my growth process and maturity. Where I come from, Orange County, which is like a suburban of Los Angeles, and I could see kind of the power dynamics there. And I kind of thought, oh, well, maybe there's kind of community or sanctuary with the blacks. If I go in the black part of town in LA or San Diego, I was, you know, I was not met with a warm welcome. Okay. The blacks showed me who they were. And the thing is, and I'm not trying, I apologize if I'm generalizing, just speaking my truth. But the thing is, the main like rebuttal that a lot of black people will say is, "Oh, because they could tell that you had a white mom. You thought you were better than them. They could tell that you had some anti-black internalized racism and anti-black." That's what they say the same shit to all of us, okay, to try to silence you and to invalidate you. To try to cover their own ass because they don't want there's no accountability in their community. You wonder why it's a shithole, right? So they don't want to take accountability for their actions or behavior. So they're always going to have a built-in excuse to say, well, it's because you didn't act right. Black people are geniuses. They're so smart. They could tell that you thought you were better than them. That's why black people treated you like that. They all come up with the same damn excuse. And you guys know it. My audience, you guys know it. You've all heard it before. They tell you you didn't act right around the blacks. But the funny thing is, the white guy doesn't have, or white girl, they don't have to act a certain way around the blacks. The Hispanics don't have to act a certain way around the blacks. The Asians don't have to. It's only for the mulatto who wants group access around these blacks. For you, there's a special criteria. You got to act a certain way to make the black feel comfortable, right? You guys know what's up. Tell me I'm lying, okay? But then at the same time, it would be hard to start a community for mulattoes where we build something because a community will then start complaining. Well, they're already complaining about us anyways, so it doesn't matter. It's what they do. They complain a lot. We definitely don't care about whites' opinion of us. I don't. I don't care what blacks think either. They're not if they're not paying me, you know. Black people get upset about how whites view them, even when it's an imagined situation. Yeah, one reason why black people have jealousy of mixed people and other non blacks is because they assume others have had peace that they don't have. They see non blackness as a golden ticket in life. It's a good point. Years ago, I watched one of his lives about mixed people. Some mixed dude came on there, started yelling that his dad was a worthless black crackhead. Jason Black didn't say anything after that. Yeah, he said it was awkward. Yeah, exactly. Black women worship a group of men who can't even build anything for the most part. And then you look at their results, and it's kind of sad. I don't want to like pick on anyone or anything like that, but yeah, there's a lot of like dysfunction. It's and then even when people are in the worst circumstances, they feel like having a child is going to help them get out of the circumstance, but it makes it worse because I see a lot of women, black women, who are already not in a good circumstance, but then like they end up getting pregnant, having a child, and then like their circumstance gets much worse, and it's like, why are you doing that? Why are you bringing in more children into a already bad circumstance? It's just the jealousy, not jealousy, excuse me, pause, let me change the words, the selfishness, okay, to do that to a child, to already push them out of the womb and have them struggling just like you. It's very unfortunate and sad, and it's selfish on the part of the individual who's already struggling. And yeah, but then they choose the caliber of man they choose. Yeah, it's a bad deal. Val, did you say black men are attracted to light skin and mixed men? Yeah, I'm just glad more people are starting to realize that because I felt like I was tripping. Well, like why are all these like light skin jokes? Like, well, why do they do that? It's like there's some homoerotica, some gay shit attached to that. Like what's up with that though? Like that's like me going out here making these like dark skin jokes or something like that. Like you don't really see people do that, right? You don't see biracials or mulattoes really make we don't really the skin color thing is not like really a big deal for us. But like all these light skin jokes, it seems at this point we can say it's pretty gay for these like dark skinned Bantus to be making these like light skin jokes. It sounds suspect, right? I mean, you know, I was implying that because they noticed how pretty boy light skinned mixed men are and created the light skin stare phrase Seems weird for a straight man to notice. Exactly. Yeah. A straight man calling another man, "Oh, well, you just a pretty bitch," or something like that. "You pretty light skin." Yeah, that's pretty gay. I'll be real, most AA are masochistic. I got respect from them by not respecting them. Yeah, that's how, because they are mass. I've said that before many times on my platforms. That's like sadomasochism. If you don't respect them and you're very stern, like like I shared a comment. There's a lot of black people who are listening right now, probably, okay, or in the clouds, or they're gonna comment. They comment on my videos. There's a lot of black people who listen to my stuff, and they know damn well they're not going to change the direction of this platform. They can go cry to their white massa, try to censor me. That's fine. I have other ways of still getting my content out. And but yeah, like you said, you get respect when you don't respect them. You don't even acknowledge them. You're like, I'm doing my own shit. Go over there. Leave me alone. But when you show them that you sympathize with them and you care about them, they like have a disdain for you. And that's because like kind of a lot of them, how they feel their own self-worth, they don't value themselves, right? A lot of them. Not saying all, for all you people out there, you know, saying a lot of them don't, clearly by the actions. So when they see you kind of valuing them, right? Then they resent you. They have a disdain for you because they don't even value themselves. It's very sad and unfortunate. I wouldn't entertain that situation for long at all. Val, isn't it very weird? I can go into it here, but a lot of them are attracted to mixed men. Yeah. Well, most black women actually are desperate and insecure and try to baby trap a man to keep the man around. Yeah. Yeah, that's right. You make a very good point, valid point for sure. That does happen. The baby trap scenario. Yeah, yeah. That definitely happens a lot. Why do you think black women abuse the most when the fathers abandon them? I don't know if the stats or anything on that. I know it happens a lot, and it's sad and unfortunate. Remember this story? It was a black woman who and it was she had a black son, and because the black son, she asked the son for like an SD card. There was some SD card like in the house. She asked him to go get it, and I think he couldn't find it or he didn't know where it was. So she shot him in the head and instantly like deleted him. Her own flesh and blood, her own son. Fucking tragic, man. I remember that story came out like a year ago or something, or yeah, maybe a year ago, 2 years ago. I'm like, how insane is that? Over like I think it was over an SD card. Since I'm talking about it, maybe I can kind of go search it real quick and click it. Say mother shoots son over SD card, memory card. I don't know if it was for a phone. It was in Chicago or something. I mean, Jesus Christ, how evil are you to do that shit? Let me share this. We can cover this right now because this is one of the most egregious stories I've heard of like a mother doing something to the child.
Censored. If I didn't have scripts and a teleprompter in front of me, I would have no words whatsoever for this situation. And this has got to be the worst mother of the week, of the year. A 12-year-old boy is dead after his own mother pumped several bullets into his head during an argument over a memory card. 37-year-old Fallon Harris is charged
Look at this mugshot. Look at her. Jesus.
with first-degree murder.
First degree, accused of shooting and deleting a 12-year-old son, her own child, over a missing memory card.
After police say she shot and killed her son in Chicago over the weekend. Investigators say she was arguing with her son, Caden Ingram, about a lost computer memory card. When he couldn't find the card, police say Harris shot the boy in the head once.
Look at that. I mean, I heard of this. I was like, this is fucking insane. How are you going to do that to your own child over nothing, too? it wasn't like a life-threatening scenario. It was over miscommunication or a loss of memory card. Look at the child. It's like a baby. How you gonna hurt this individual? Like, it's crazy. I remember this story. This came out like a couple years ago.
Then she took a phone call, sat there, talked on the phone as he is bleeding but still alive. That's as he's laying on that floor. Then Harris came back, asked her son again, where is the memory card? While he's bleeding on the floor. And she shot the second time.
Jesus Christ, man. I mean, it doesn't get more demonic than that. I mean, I remember hearing that story. I was like, this is unreal. This is unreal. I mean, this is horrible, man. So let me get into these final comments and kind of close things out. I appreciate you guys being here. If you guys do like the content, please hit the like button and share it with your friends. I do appreciate you guys being here. So Val puts right here, well, I've seen them make comments about light-skinned men going to prison, saying that he's in trouble and he's too pretty to be in prison, basically saying that dude is going to be another man's girl. Yeah. Yeah, it's like homoerotica, suspect type of stuff. Yeah. Black females have children as welfare meal tickets. Yeah. That could work for a lot of other groups too, but kind of with that sample population, we tend to see kind of there's a cultural kind of element there where that a lot of that stuff's kind of promoted, right? There's incentives and goodies and giveaways and bennies. We can call benefits. We can call government bennies given out, right? The stats are real. Black children are the most infanticide is the highest in AA community. Yeah, it's crazy. Like once a father left. Let me get into this comment here. I saw a video of a black woman who, wow, outside the dad of another woman. Dad found him and the baby. Wow, I didn't even want to read those words out because I'm like, it's too much for me. I don't even want to read that stuff. I see the comment. I read it to myself, but I didn't want to publicly say it. But yeah, I appreciate you guys being here. Kind of went longer, but really definitely, like I said, this is my goal and mission here is to establish a space for you guys. This is for you. Communities for all of us, having our own think tank information network, so to speak, and also to get to know one another as well, to share stories. That's that's the basis of a community formation. Sharing stories, comparing and contrasting, and trying to sort things out. What are some good ideas? What are some solutions? First, we have to identify the problem. Then, of course, we have to develop some solutions to solve that problem. So that's it, guys. I'm going to close it out. I'll talk to you guys pretty soon. So peace out.